Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome. Subscribe if you are new. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll get to the calls in just a bit. I'm going to open up today talking about this epic press conference with President Trump and the president of El Salvador yesterday. That was just, I knew it was going to be an interesting press conference, but I didn't realize how epic it would be. Isn't the president of El Salvador incredibly impressive? Absolutely. He's very impressive. No getting around that. I was blown away. And his accent's he almost has an American accent. Here we go. 15 seconds. If you're on hold, hang in there. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Oh man, do we have a lot to discuss today. Did you guys all catch that epic press conference with President Trump and the president of El Salvador yesterday? Now, that press conference, I've watched so many press conferences in my life. I've seen pretty much almost every press conference President Trump has had, but I've been watching these all my life with foreign leaders, and I think yesterday's may have been the most epic of all. Now, I knew that the press conference was going to be exciting because the media are obsessed with this terrorist that they call the Maryland man. Does that mean Muhammad Atta was a Florida man by that standard? So they have this terrorist, this MS-13 illegal from El Salvador that they've renamed the Maryland man, and with the president who's being held in that incredible prison in El Salvador. And I knew that the president of El Salvador being there, it was going to be an interesting press conference. I didn't realize how epic it was going to be. And the president of El Salvador is incredibly impressive, isn't he? And the media were so schooled that CNN had to send Dana Bash, who was obviously visibly upset. They had to send Dana Bash out live on the air on CNN, and I'll play the audio later and say, CNN does not hate our country. So we're going to go, and that was in direct response to that press conference yesterday. So we're going to go through it. But, a lot of news was made during that press conference. And I'm here to tell you, I'd forgotten about it. President Trump has been doing so much that it's hard to keep up with everything he's doing, right? And Stephen, I'm going to play some of the audio from the press conference in a few minutes. But Stephen Miller reminded me of something that I had forgotten. And that, of course, is that President Trump signed an executive order declaring MS-13 a terrorist organization. And this illegal from El Salvador, who's now back in El Salvador, that they refer to as the Maryland man, is a member of MS-13. So if you are a member of a terrorist organization and you happen to have any kind of visa, the visa is void at that point. All right? You have a visa, you're a guest in this country, but now you're in a terrorist organization, the visa's no good. You get sent back home. And that's where he is. And I had forgotten that President Trump had signed an order declaring MS-13 a terrorist organization. And I could tell that the media, they'd forgotten about that too, because they were completely caught off guard by all of this. But we're going to get to a lot of truth here today involving this so-called Maryland man, and we'll take your calls at 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Those of you on hold right now, stand by. We'll get to the calls in just a bit. But this illegal from El Salvador, I got to call him the Maryland man just because that's what they call him, so people know who we're talking about. But this so-called Maryland man, he got picked up They have an informant that told immigration that he was MS-13, and he was wearing MS-13 gang clothing when they picked him up. He went before a couple of judges who agreed that he was MS-13. His anchor wife that he's married to, that he had the anchor baby with, he married her and impregnated this girl while he was awaiting deportation. So you got to ask yourself, was that an attempt to avoid deportation by getting himself an anchor wife and knocking her up and then having an anchor baby? Maybe. But none of that matters because he's a member, and a court has ruled, more than one, that he's a member of a terrorist organization, MS-13. He's back in his home country of El Salvador, and Stephen Miller said it best. You know, what are we supposed to do? Go to El Salvador and kidnap him? So, I mean, what the media and what the left and the never-Trumpers are suggesting is that President Trump sent a Delta Force team or the Navy SEALs or the Green Berets to break into this prison in El Salvador, kidnap this illegal MS-13 El Salvadorian citizen, and bring him back to the United States? Is that what they expect? The president of El Salvador was sitting right there. He says, how can I send a terrorist back to the United States? So at this point, don't you think that that issue is mute? And also the Supreme Court 9-0 ruled in favor of Trump and the Trump administration on this case, saying that the courts have no authority over international relations. So that's it. But, you know, the media are so wrapped up in their never-Trumperism, they'll never admit they were wrong and Trump was right. That's just never going to happen. They'll never admit it. So they'll continue with this for as long as they can drag it out. But that press conference set the record straight. And it was a real role reversal because the media, the news, are the ones that are supposed to be breaking news. And they were not breaking news at all. They were being informed of things that really shouldn't even be news at this point by President Trump, the president of El Salvador, and the great, awesome Stephen Miller in that White House Oval Office press briefing. So it was very exciting. I mean, I was blown away by how exciting it was. And the president of El Salvador, when I go through the sound bites, you'll hear all this. But the president of El Salvador talked about how his country was the murder capital of the world, and they started arresting criminals, and they've liberated their country. And he said the president of the United States, Donald Trump, he has to liberate this country. And to do that, you got to put the criminals in jail. Now, this illegal from El Salvador, the president of El Salvador, they have him back. He's in El Salvador, where he belongs, and he's a criminal, so he's in prison. It's no longer within the realm of the president of the United States, unless we take over El Salvador. Okay, if we conquer El Salvador, and maybe they could. I think that the media and the never-Trumpers and the left have gotten on the wrong side of an issue again, don't you? All right, so your thoughts on all of this are welcome. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. So it was really interesting. The president just tossed it over to Stephen Miller. Listen.
Would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So,
yes.
With respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA.
That's right.
That he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States.
That's right.
And had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here.
Oh,
that
my
issue
goodness.
was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask
Supreme
for
Court's
permission to get
asking
it back?
to.
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As
That's
Kane
right.
said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it for the court can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Se lo liberaría, presidente?
Well, I mean, that was just epic. And you could tell that President Trump's so proud of Stephen Miller. You know, out of everyone in the Trump administration, Stephen Miller's the best, isn't he? He really is. I mean, he just has a way of explaining everything in a perfect way. He's probably one of the best conservative MAGA, well, probably is not one of the best. He is the best defender of MAGA out there. He knows how to explain everything. He makes everything very common sense, a matter of fact. And whenever Stephen Miller talks, you hear how silent they were? He commanded the entire room. He doesn't even hold an office. He's like an advisor. How could you disagree with anything that he said? He went through it all. All right, we're going to take our first break of this Tuesday morning. My name is Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Your thoughts are certainly welcome on this at 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back. Yeah, I mean, how could you disagree with any of that? Yeah, if you want to call in, please do. The number is pinned in the live chat. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'll start taking some calls, but yeah, you're all welcome to call in. Oh, it was epic. Epic. 888-465-2631. Stephen Miller's the best. He is the best. I love Stephen Miller. Anytime he talks, I'm listening. And it's the first time I ever heard of Stephen Miller is he was defending the Duke lacrosse team. And look, he was totally vindicated in that because the accuser, she admitted she lied recently. Stephen Miller's always right. Oh, yeah, he's the best. He's very, very smart, Stephen Miller. Very smart. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to. You guys like my Golf of America shirt? Just got this. Well, I got it before the cruise, but I haven't worn it. First time I've worn it. Golf of America. That's right. He trolled the media. Yeah. It's really hot here. I'm going to go turn the AC down. Nope, it's the Gulf of America. It used to be the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's the Gulf of America. Well, President Trump loves him. He threw the whole press conference over to him. That's right. No, you're welcome to call in if you've got the guts. The number's pinned in the chat. "20 seconds. We'll be back." Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show, celebrating this epic press conference in the Oval Office yesterday with President Trump and the very impressive president of El Salvador. I was blown away by this guy. All right, I'll take a call, maybe two, but I want to get to some of the audio from the press conference. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian.
Yep, speak up.
Brian, can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds very distant. Anyways, this is Stiff Richard, a.k.a. Nick Baker.
Okay.
Calling into your show, I don't know what the topic is, but I've got a problem with YouTube. And
I can't help you with that. You got to work that out on your own, okay? All right? I'm not interested in talking about your personal problems. We got a lot on the table here. And let me tell you, the sure way to end a call is to say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. The way you do it is, except on Fridays. Fridays is open phones. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. The other days of the week, listen to the show. You hear something that sparks some interest, you pick up the phone and you call. If you call me and you tell me you haven't been listening or you don't know what I'm talking about, that's the end. I mean, come on. And if you got YouTube issues, work that out on your own, okay? Okay, so let me get back to this. And if you're on hold, hang in there. Our number is 1-888-465-2631. I want to go through some of the sound bites from this press conference. This is the president of El Salvador with the president.
And we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with.
See, did you hear what he said? He said to President Trump, we know you have a crime and terrorism problem you need help with. And the terrorism is MS-13, which this Maryland man, hate to call him that, but, is a member of, and that Trinidad de Agua. Okay, that's the terrorist. And we got a big crime problem, too, because we got a lot of these illegals over here that have been doing all kinds of major crime.
And we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we will do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And, sometimes they say that we imprisoned thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions.
Isn't it nice to hear the leader of another country offer a tiny little country like El Salvador, tiny little country, not a lot of space, not a lot of money, little country, and they're willing to go out of their way to help the United States with a major problem that we have. When's the last time you've seen another country come in and want to help us? They've always got their hand out like we're supposed to do something for them. I mean, just based on that alone, I love this guy. Hey, maybe we should start vacationing in El Salvador because it's so safe down there now, according to the president.
So,
It's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
Yes. And in fact, Mr. President, you have 350 million people to liberate. Yeah. But to liberate 350 million people, you have to imprison some. That's right. The way it works, right? You cannot just free the criminals and think crime's going to go down magically. You have to imprison them so you can liberate 350 million Americans that are asking for the end of crime and the end of terrorism. And it can be done. I mean, you're doing it already. And I'm sure that people have seen the change in the streets. A long way to go because you're just initiating your second term. But it's clear that, with the numbers at the border, when even in Democrat-run cities, they get a help from the work you're doing. So I'm really happy to be here, honored.
Yeah, I mean, this is so historic, and I've heard other leaders say nice things about the United States, but this is the first time, and I was racking my brain about this yesterday, trying to think of an example, and if you've got one, I'm welcome to hear it, but this is the first time that I have ever heard a foreign leader in the White House with any president of the United States offering and actually doing something to help the United States with an issue, with a problem we have. When's the last time you've heard that? I'm not talking about some foreign leader saying, the United States is great. I'm talking about actually taking an action to help us. I've never seen that before. This is a first. And hopefully it's the first of many. And it's great respect. And I'll tell you this, the American people will not forget El Salvador and what they're doing for us. Now, if you got an example of the last time a country helped us was like France during the American Revolution. And that was selfish on their part, but because they hated England. But since then, when have we had help from another country? I mean, an actual action. I can't think of one, and I'm pretty well informed on such things. But I'm open to the idea. I mean, if there is another one, I'd love to hear it. But this El Salvador, and he said it was used to be the murder capital of the world. Now it's the safest in the region. That's awesome. And I've never thought about going to El Salvador, but maybe I should. Maybe you should. I mean, what can we do to help? This is a true ally, unlike Canada, that just rips us off and steals our industry, charges us 200-300% tariffs, right? Doesn't pay their military dues, and we've got to defend them, right? Or Europe, who just rips us off all the time, or Japan, who's ripping us off all the time. All these countries. This is a country that is a true ally. These other countries are allies in name only. They say they're allies, but they undermine us every step of the way. El Salvador is actually an ally of the United States that with action is showing that they are a true friend and ally of our country. And I don't know how many people in this country are from El Salvador. We meet people from all over Latin America. I don't know anybody off the top of my head from El Salvador. But, I love the El Salvadorian people. This is an amazing thing. Now, I want to tell you guys about Friendly Tire in Margate. I've been a customer of Friendly Tire for at least 15 years, maybe 20 years. And I sought them out out of necessity because I had a Jeep Wrangler with the big four-wheel drive tires. They were very expensive. And the first time I had to buy tires, I knew why I got such a great deal on the Jeep. And I'll tell you how they became an advertiser here on the program is Steve needed new tires. I sent him over there. He got new tires out the door and on the road on his Toyota for $70 a tire, out the door and on the road. And at Friendly Tire, you can get brand new tires out the door and on the road for as low as $70 a tire. That's right, because Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to mount the tire, balance the tire, or even dispose of your old tires. Have all the name brands you know and love. If you've got run flats, great deals on run flats. If you have a Tesla, there's special tools that are needed to change the tires on Teslas. Friendly Tire in Margate, they have them. Okay? I see people over there with every type of vehicle you can imagine. We have listeners over there with Porsche Cayennes and Vets, new Vets. Okay, and also people that have rust buckets. I mean, everybody goes to Friendly Tire because why pay so much money for tires when you don't have to? He has thousands of good used tires in stock at great prices, And he also does tire repairs, which other places do not do. But Friendly Tire in Margate does tire repairs. Give Friendly Mike a call. Now, when you call, make sure you tell him you heard about him on the Steve Kane Show. He'll take extra good care of you, all right? And he'll give you a quote right over the phone. And remember, that price he gives you is out the door and on the road. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. That's 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. Now, that was selfish on Russia's part. I'm talking about a totally selfless act. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe, all right? This is most definitely where MAGA comes to talk. We're at our bottom of the hour break at the radio station. We'll be back live shortly. If you're on hold, hang in there. Awesome. Okay. It was 9-0 in favor of Trump. You can get it backwards. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You know, with this second term of Trump, we have never seen transparency like this before, right? Last week, he had the cabinet meeting live on television. And this press conference, boy, what a compare and contrast to the Zelensky press conference, huh? In the same seats, in the same room, in the same spot, with the same fake news media and the same great Trump team. But this is so transparent. We are seeing the presidency live. And, the White House press conference, as we currently know it, I mean, this is a version of that. It's not in the press room, but it's, the White House press conference really began with Kennedy. And, President Kennedy, they started doing this because television was still kind of new. And they wanted the American people to see how the government works, how the presidency works. We have never seen a presidency done out in the public. In Florida, in our government, we have something called the Sunshine Law. Government business must all be done in open public forums, not in smoke-filled back rooms, out in the sunshine, so to speak. It's called the Sunshine Law because in Florida, we incorporate sunshine in everything, I guess, and oranges. And this is what's going on with the Trump administration. Everything is done out in the open. And when that happens, the forces of the left, the evildoers in the fake news media, the never Trumpers of the Republican establishment, it's very difficult for them to get these false narratives started, like this Maryland man, because President Trump is doing everything out in the sunshine, out in the open, 100% transparency. And these are unpredictable things because, you've got the press there, you've got the cabinet, you've got the head of another country, the president of El Salvador, his cabinet's there. President Trump doesn't know what anyone's going to ask or what anyone's going to say, and they have to deal with it on the spot. And the president of El Salvador, they remember yesterday I had some calls, they were trying to get this talking point going that this prison in El Salvador is a gulag filled with innocent people. And the president of El Salvador gave some examples of things. Listen to this.
That we have somewhere to put them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we even had this gang member from Venezuela, one of the ones you sent, and we interviewed him just to get some information, etc. from them. And he said, I got arrested 6 times, but they released me the 6th time, so I should be released again. And then we said, well, what's the last thing you do? And he said, well, I shot a cop in the leg, but I didn't kill him. I just shot him in the leg.
Isn't this nuts? I mean, these people that we're sending to this Supermax in El Salvador are criminally insane to infinity and beyond. I mean, so they got this one guy, he's either MS-13 or Trinidad de Agua. He thinks, well, I didn't kill the cop, I just shot him in the leg. They should let me go free. The guy's so far gone that he doesn't know that shooting a cop and wounding him is illegal, that's like okay. You get a get out of jail free card with that one because you didn't kill him. These are the people that the liberals want to bring into this country? Let me rewind it, play the whole thing.
That we have somewhere to put them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we even had this gang member from Venezuela, one of the ones you sent, and we interviewed him just to get some information, etc. from them. And he said, I got arrested 6 times, but they released me the 6th time, so I should be released again. And then we said, well, what's the last thing you do? And he said, well, I shot a cop in the leg, but I didn't kill him. I just shot him in the leg. And we're like, this guy was arrested 6 times here in the United States, 6 times. He was released 6 times, and in the he was released 5 times, and the last time he was sent to El Salvador, right? So he's not getting released. But the last time he shot a cop, actually, and he shot him in the leg. So these are, like you said, there's something broken.
It's the liberal establishment. But they're not running things anymore in this country. And
that's
we're,
right.
Run by, and I don't say conservative, I don't say anything. We're run by people with great common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
Because it's all common sense. Yeah. It's not liberal conservative. It's common sense.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. And with this playing out live on television, because there's been this narrative that the media have had some success in the last, 5 or 6 days promoting about the El Salvador prison, the Gulag talk, this El Salvadorian MS-13 terrorist member, because MS-13 is a terrorist organization now, back in his home country, is the Maryland man. They've had a lot of success. And then this happened yesterday. And how can the media disagree with any of this? So let me see. Where's the next? I already played the Stephen Miller. Oh, yeah. This is another one. Here's President Trump, same press conference, talking about his cognitive exam.
And by the way, I took my cognitive exam as part of my physical exam, and I got the highest mark. And one of the doctors said, "Sir, I've never seen anybody get that kind of, that was the highest mark." I hope you're happy with that. Although they haven't been bugging me too much to take a cognitive. But I did do my physical, and it was released. I hope you're all happy with it. I noticed there's no question, so probably you are. But the cognitive, they said to me, "Sir, would you like to take a cognitive test?" I said, "Did Biden take one?" "No." "Did anybody take one?" "No, not too many people took them." I said, what about Obama? Did he take one?" "No, he didn't take one either." I said, "Let me be the only one to take one." But I've actually taken them 3 times already. I like taking them because they're not too tough for me to take. But we had a great physical exam, so I know you're going to ask that. And the doctors, who are total professionals, Walter Reed Medical Center, they're great people. And I visited a soldier that was badly wounded, incredible soldier, lost his leg, and spent a lot of time with him. I mean, great with his mother, and it was really a very great thing. They do a phenomenal job. I just want to say, Walter Reed, I was there for, 5-6 hours. You were there with me.
Okay. Now this thing about the physical exam, this is another one. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll get to some calls in a bit. This is another one, right? They've got this new thing, and I want you to think about what the media and the Trump haters are expecting you to believe, okay? They're really taking issue. Notice they don't take issue with the cognitive exam. And those cognitive exams are not easy. I remember he took one in the first term, and the test was put out there online. Those things are difficult, and he passes them with flying colors. They don't even question that. But the media and the Trump haters and the never-Trumpers, they're obsessing over the weight. The doctors wrote in the report that he weighs 224 pounds. And they keep laughing at that. They don't accept it. So this is what they're expecting you to believe. Now, again, these other presidents, they don't release that information. They may release and say, "Oh, yeah, I got a clean bill of health at Walter Reed," but they don't release the details like their weight. Who does that, right? Donald Trump. But other than Donald Trump, who does that? This is what they expect you to believe in this most transparent administration ever, even with his weight being out there, 224 pounds. And I've noticed he's lost a lot of weight, and he does because he goes to the golf course, and he's probably eating better than he did in the first term. But this is what they want you to believe, that U.S. military doctors at Walter Reed falsified a medical report, putting a weight down that's inaccurate, right? And then released that to the world to see. Why would doctors falsify a medical report, especially one that's going to be released to the entire world to tear apart? That's not even believable. But it's that, that Trump derangement syndrome, they can't even see straight. Now, if the Trump administration wasn't so transparent, they'd be able to get some false narratives going. But they can't. And, this president of El Salvador, did he go to school in America? Because his accent's pretty darn good, and his English is great. He even understands the American slang. Trump's using some slang and while they're talking, and he understands all of it. This guy, he's very well educated, and he loves this country. I'd said before the break that I can't think of another country that has been a true ally of the United States, where they, for totally selfless reasons, right, have gone out of the way to help the United States with our problems. Somebody said, well, Russia fought the Germans and helped us with that in the Second World War. That was No, that wasn't to help us. It was to help them. They were attacked by Germans. There has not been another nation for totally selfless reasons who has lifted a finger to help our country. We're the ones always doing that for them. So so El Salvador deserves a very special place because they've done something no one else has done. No other nation has done. Now, then a lot of these other countries, they say they're allies, but they're not. They're not allies. They just rip us off. They just exploit us. They take advantage of us. And then they put their hand out and say, give me this, give me that. They have an entitlement mentality. Not only is El Salvador helping us with one of our biggest problems, if not the biggest problem, this invasion of these terrorists from Trinidad and Tobago and MS-13, there's not much gain out of it. I'm sure we're helping them pay for the prison, but that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because they're a true friend of the United States. And that's something that really should be appreciated because things like that just don't happen all that much. Now, I want to tell you guys about Mike Lindell. There's a couple of specials going on right now. One of them's huge. They're both good. I want to tell you about. Now, one of them is there's a closeout sale. I was telling you about this yesterday on the Percow sheets. Now, I have the Percow sheets on my guest bed. They are spectacular. Right now, the Percow sheets, any size and any color. So you can have a twin or a California King. All Percow sheets, any size, any color, with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, just $25. And remember, it's free shipping on all orders over $75. So if you get 3 sets, you got free shipping with it. Okay? So that's queens, kings, split kings, California kings, no matter the size, no matter the color, no matter how large, just $25. There's 11 colors of the Percow sheets to choose from, but once they're gone, they're gone. Now, this next offer that Mike Lindell has is amazing. Mike Lindell has a new energy drink. It's called Rev 7. It's a premium energy drink. It has no caffeine in it and no sugar. And I got a case on the way. I ordered a case at the end of the week. No sugar, no caffeine. Isn't that something? So you don't get all those jitters that you get or that crashing from a lot of those other energy drinks. Rev 7, it has an incredible offer right now with our promo code Kane at checkout. Listen to this. Mike Lindell's so confident you're going to love his energy drink, Rev 7, that for a limited time, you can try their introductory 3-pack absolutely free. That's right. With our promo code Kane at checkout. Absolutely free. Kane at checkout at mypillow.com. You can also order by phone and take advantage of that offer. 1-800-716-4879. Yeah, you heard me right. Free. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane, Kane. All right, we're going to take our last break of the first hour. Call us on hold, stand by. We'll be right back. Now, there's people on hold. Just because I'm not taking calls doesn't mean I don't have calls. Sometimes you got to set the premise and go through things before you take calls. But you're welcome to call in. Just throwing it open to phones every day, that's not hosting a show. Trump did not back down on tariffs. That's fake news. Fake news. We'll be back in 25 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. If you're on hold, hang in there. I want to go through a little bit more of this press. This press conference just blew my mind yesterday. I was not expecting it to be so good. I knew it was going to be heated. I've never heard the president of El Salvador before. I mean, I knew I was going to like the guy. I mean, look what he's doing. But I just wasn't expecting the press conference to be this historic. I just wasn't. I mean, I knew it'd be exciting. I knew the media would have meltdowns. But if you notice, the media, at Stephen Miller, the El Salvadorian president, and as they started talking about things, the media kind of backed off a little bit because the media knew they were over their head. They have this position, which the media shouldn't have a position. They're supposed to be reporting news as it happens, not stating and establishing positions and defending them. But they knew that they have this indefensible position up against the primary sources of everything, the presidents of the United States and El Salvador. And when you have the primary sources there that are behind everything that you've been talking about, and they're telling the world, not just the American people, they're telling the people of the world what's really happening, as opposed to this false never Trumper narrative that's being promoted. It falls apart for them. Here's another clip. This is the president's press conference in the Oval yesterday.
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting?
Now, what a weird question. How many illegal criminals? Is there another type of criminal? It's like saying Jewish rabbi. Is there another kind of rabbi? Is there, how many illegal criminals?
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous. Not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers.
That's right.
They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's it. As many as possible. And what is wrong with that? I mean, The president is supposed to protect this country and the people of this country from enemies, foreign and domestic. These are foreign enemies. And don't let them try to sell you that talking point that the Supreme Court ruled against Trump. No, the opposite's true. It was 9-0 in favor of President Trump and the Trump administration. They said that the judges don't have authority over international policy. Now, here's President Trump talking about the import taxes in this press conference yesterday.
We're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced, like a month and a half ago, since I came in, we have over $7 trillion being invested in the country. We didn't have $1 trillion. We didn't have $500 billion for some of these guys. They didn't know what the hell they were doing.
That's right.
So we have the largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue at levels that you've never seen before.
Yeah, now this is an amazing thing. Time and time again, almost since day one of the second term, President Trump has brought in heads of different industries from all over the world. They're going to start making the supercomputers here again. A big European pharmaceuticals moving to the United States. Another big computer manufacturer. These AI people. It goes on and on. When have you ever seen a president of the United States have a press conference and money's coming into the United States by the billions? It's never happened before. Usually what happens is the presidents have press conferences in the White House. They have someone from another country, and they start talking about investments in another country. They give money away. Everything with this second term of President Trump is so historic. And those of you that are not MAGA, you're really missing out on a great time of American greatness. This is all of these things that are happening are things that have never happened before. This America First policy, right? With the deportations is the America First policy. Bringing investments into the United States, not giving money away. None of that's ever happened before. And it happens all the time. There were 2 or 3 companies just yesterday that announced that they're investing and opening up plants and factories and manufacturing in the United States. Now, Florida's own Marco Rubio, he's just a really great member of the cabinet, a great Secretary of State, maybe one of the best ever. He was in on that press conference yesterday. Listen to this. This is huge stuff.
The confusion is, this individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States,
That's
not by
right.
a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you go through past presidents, rack your brain. When have you seen judges try to run the day-to-day operations of the White House? Only with President Trump. And he's going to continue to ignore them. And he's got great people like the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and the Supreme Court of the United States on his side. I've never, ever seen federal judges come in and think that they're running the country. It's never happened before. This is an extension of the lawfare. See, the thing is, the left have inspired just terrible things against this president. We're seeing it. We saw with the lawfare the last 4 years. We're seeing it with it's not lawfare with these judges now. It's unlawful insurrection. It's really an insurrection against the presidency of the United States that's going on, And look, they got another attempted Trump assassin. This guy that killed his parents. How many is that? 4? 5? I'm losing track. All these things are that we're seeing. These terrible things are inspired by the fake news media, the Democrats, and the never-Trumper Republican establishment. Now, I want to ask you this. Do you or someone you know and love suffer from neuropathy? Oh boy, if you do, I don't have to tell you. It's pretty bad. And of course, I'm talking about Lighthouse Medical Center. You know, we found Lighthouse Medical Center out of necessity because Steve had all these neuropathy symptoms, and he couldn't get out of bed. I mean, he was homebound and confined to bed because the symptoms of neuropathy are that bad. And if you are suffering from them, or you know someone who is, you know what I'm talking about. And these are just some of the major symptoms of neuropathy that Lighthouse Medical can rid you of. Numbness, pain, burning, tingling in the hands and feet, muscle weakness, dizziness, the feeling of pins and needles in the hands and feet, no feeling at all. And, what we found from Lighthouse Medical is this is amazing. They have a treatment for neuropathy, and it works because it immediately started ridding Steve of his neuropathy symptoms. I talked to him the day after his first treatment, and he already noticed a change. But we also found it's a treatment that not only works, but lasts, because Steve had his treatment over 2.5 years ago, and his neuropathy symptoms have not returned. Now, also, this is very important. Lighthouse Medical, they understand that if you're suffering from neuropathy, it's probably hard for you to get out and about. So if you're suffering from neuropathy and you can't make it into their office, no matter where you're located in the United States, they can still help you. I'm going to give you their number. Now, when you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show, because if you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show, you could take advantage of their no-charge consultation, which is very important, okay? They don't have time to do no-charge consultations all day long, but they do offer them to our listeners. Here's the number, 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. That's 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. Give them a call. It works. I've seen it work not just in Steve Kane, but many of our listeners. And your doctors will tell you there's no treatment for neuropathy. That's not true. Go talk to them. Take advantage of that no-charge consultation at Lighthouse Medical in Pompano. All right, 1 hour down, 2 to go. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. Hour number 2 has begun. My name is Brian Craig. If you're on hold, hang in there. You're listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. If you'd like to call in, our number's toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. So if you're just tuning in, I just want to recap. I'm talking about this fake news narrative, this never-Trumper narrative that was just totally taken down yesterday by President Trump, the president of El Salvador, and, of course, Stephen Miller in this epic White House press conference, which was, I got to tell you, maybe the most historic press conference of the entire 2 terms of Trump so far, because this Maryland man fake narrative was really gaining traction. The media have been obsessed over this. So President Trump has this live press conference, and he's got all the primaries there, including the president of El Salvador. And what do we find out? Everything the media has been reporting for the last few days has been a lie. 2 courts ruled that this guy, this illegal from El Salvador, dubbed the Maryland Man, is a member of MS-13. 2 courts determined that. 2 courts. They have an informant that identified him as MS-13, and when he was arrested, the immigration said that he was wearing MS-13 gang affiliated clothing. All right? This anchor wife of his that he impregnated with an anchor baby, he married her after he was ordered deported. Okay? Perhaps in an attempt to anchor himself in the United States. 2 anchors there. Didn't work. He's a member of MS-13, as 2 courts have determined. And President Trump, in one of his executive orders, designated MS-13 a foreign terrorist organization. So if you're a visa holder, okay, and then it's found out you're a member of a terrorist organization, the visa is no longer valid. You're out. He's a citizen of El Salvador. That's where he's at. And the president of El Salvador is not giving him back. Listen, this is the president of El Salvador.
Well, I'm suppose you're not suggesting that I'll smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's
I mean,
always
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
Yeah, he says, what am I going to do, smuggle a terrorist into the United States? That's the president of El Salvador. What a stupid question from Caitlin Collins. Yep, hold on, wrong line. Let's try this one. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Yeah, you're on the air.
Oh, hey, it's Joan from Tampa Bay.
Oh, hey, Joan.
You know, the illegal alien that killed Rachel Morin in Maryland?
Yep.
He's from El Salvador.
Yeah.
But I wonder if the Maryland, prison authorities will release him to ICE to be sent back to El Salvador.
Well, it's not up to them to release him. The feds can grab him if they want and deport him.
Well, I hope they do, and I hope they send him back to country of origin.
Well, this, that's a god-awful tragedy, and don't misunderstand what I'm going to say here, but I've often said women should not be jogging alone. These sickos, they go on these hunting expeditions, and those who jog, men and women, it's a pattern. They take the same route every day, and if you notice, these women are in peak physical condition, and they're overpowered by these out-of-shape men. It's very dangerous. Women should not be jogging alone. It can get you killed. I mean, look at Lincoln Riley and then this one. If they were not jogging alone, we probably never would have heard of them because they'd be alive, right? So, I mean,
right.
Don't misunderstand. I'm not blaming them for what happened, but you got to be smart and be safe. Women should not be jogging alone. Very dangerous.
I think you're better off on a treadmill in your house.
That's right. That's exactly right. Or go with a man, or with a group of people, but don't jog alone. Well, even I see it, and you guys probably do. There's a lot of joggers that I see every morning, on my, when I'm out and about, and it's the same people taking the same route. And these psychos, these lunatics, they are stalking them, and they know their patterns, and they know where they can grab them without anyone seeing. And a lot of people jog at these early hours of the morning because it's cool out when it's dark. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. When feminism has gotten so many women killed. It really has. But anyway, all right, Joe.
I hope they send them to El Salvador. That's all I
Yeah,
have to say.
into that supermax. That's where they all belong. Yeah, and I'm all for funding the construction of more prisons in El Salvador. Aren't you guys? All right, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
I gotta ask you a question. Who is it besides President Trump can go into an arena and get all that love? Man, I don't think there's anybody. Do you know anybody?
Are you talking about the UFC on Saturday?
Yeah, man. Did you see that? That was so incredible. I couldn't believe it. I said, nobody on earth can walk into a place like that and get that kind of love.
It's almost like it's almost like a natural reaction to boo somebody in a situation like that. You're really setting yourself up for a situation to be booed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe George Washington, if he was alive, maybe
George Washington.
Ronald Reagan, maybe, but
no,
but
Ronald Reagan would be booed. The only Donald Trump.
Only Donald Trump. I think you're right, man. We're so lucky, man. There's never been anybody like this guy. It's just you got to laugh, man. What he can do is amazing.
And he's done it. I don't know how many times he's gone to that UFC, but they haven't even been able to set up a booing section, right?
USC goes to football stadium. Any place he goes, he gets the same exact reaction. Everybody loves President Trump. The few big mouths that hate him, unfortunately, they get airtime.
Well, the never Trumpers are a cult. The majority of the people are on Trump's. I mean, it's like what he said in that press conference yesterday. What he's doing and what he's talking about is common sense. It's not liberal or conservative. It's common sense.
Without a doubt, 100% common sense. Exactly what the American people want, and everybody's on board with him now. Yeah, okay. If prices even go up a little bit, I think people will be not against them. They'll be saying, all right,
things might go up for a little bit, but everything will be equalized. I mean, listen, you got to fix how are you going to fix the problem without having a little rough patch?
Yep, no doubt about it.
All right, Doug, I appreciate the call. So I want to finish this. The president of El Salvador really, so far as this deported so-called Maryland man, this member of a terrorist organization known as MS-13, the president of El Salvador has really settled the whole issue. It's not even up for debate anymore. Because remember, the guy is a citizen of El Salvador, and he's in his own country. If you're on hold, hang in there. I want to play a little bit more of what the president of El Salvador said.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like. I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
You could release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world to the safest country of the Western Hemisphere.
Okay, so the guy's a citizen of El Salvador. He's in his home country in a prison. The president of El Salvador said, we're not releasing him from the prison and we're not sending this terrorist back to the United States. That's it. It's settled. He's the sovereign leader of a country. This guy is, this Maryland man is a citizen of that country. It's over. I'm sorry, no federal judge has the authority to kidnap citizens of El Salvador from their home country. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Jeff from Maine.
Hey, Jeff. What's up?
I can barely hear you.
Well, I can hear you.
Can you imagine that the mainstream news media is advocating for the return of criminal illegals.
That's right.
I don't think we need to do anything. Let them keep opening their mouth. More Americans are going to realize they are anti-American and turn them off. It's ridiculous what's going on.
And in this case, the guy's a member of a terrorist organization, MS-13.
The liberals, all they have to do is keep opening their mouth, and they're going to turn more Americans against them. There's no way they're going to gain more support with how they're standing against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know
The
what President and what
Democrats are gonna
President
lose more people.
and what-
I want them to keep doing that.
and what President Trump has done is 100% transparency on this whole issue. I mean, it's all out there. Boom, with all the primaries, the president of the United States, the president of El Salvador, and we got the whole story right there. So that's it.
And
It's
another
over.
Another good thing about this is midterms are not going to go nearly the way they're hoping it is. I think the midterms, President Trump's going to gain many more seats. Americans are not going to sit by idly and listen to this garbage from the mainstream news media and what the Democrat Party's doing. And by the way, they have no one to run against whoever runs for president in the Democrat Party. They have no one
and if you notice,
that has any experience.
If you notice, we haven't heard from any of these big mouth liberals today who were defending this illegal. Yesterday, they were talking about the El Salvador gulag, the Maryland man, due process, all these liberal talking points. We haven't heard from any of these big mouth liberals on that. I guess President Trump schooled them, and maybe they should check their spam folder for the new talking points if they have any on this. All right, Jeff, I'm going to run, but I'll give you the final word.
And they're putting up AOC and Bernie Sanders as a ticket for the primary in 2028. That's
I love
a
it.
joke.
That's the
they
best.
They have nobody.
That's the best. All right, Jeff, take care. They got AOC. That's right. And Bernie Sanders. That's awesome. Now, I want to tell you guys about the free doorbell camera offer from Slomin's. If you've not taken advantage of this, you should, because you can get a doorbell camera that connects directly to your cell phone for free with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Slomin's is also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. You get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts for your doors and windows, a lifetime warranty, and a backup battery. Plus, you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Slomin Shield. No matter where you're located, give them a call. Take advantage of this. You'll love it. 1-800-ALARM-ME. 1-800-ALARM-ME. That's 1-800-ALARM-ME. All right, we're going to take our first break of the second hour. Call us on hold standby. Our number's toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. My name is Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. We'll be right back. Hey guys, if you're on hold, hang in there. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Radio Show. I'm wearing a shirt today. If you're watching me on YouTube, you could see it. But first time I've worn this shirt. It's my Gulf of America shirt. I love this shirt. It's a great shirt. And my first time I got this shirt a few weeks ago, and I haven't worn it yet. Gulf of America. Isn't it nice? America's back. That's right. You're on the air. Okay. Well, wrong line there. Okay. There was the liberal response. If you're on hold, hang in there. Move on to a couple other topics, and then we'll go back to the phones. This war in Ukraine's about to end with Russia. And, Zelensky came out over the weekend and said that he wants Trump to come to Ukraine before he'll look at signing a peace treaty. What? Who does he think he is? I mean, he came to the White House to sign the treaty. He didn't, right? That mineral deal. Zelensky lied to President Trump. He'll never have his trust again. Not only did he lie, he thought he was going to intimidate him live on television, and he got schooled by President Trump and the Vice President, J.D. Vance. And he'll never recover from that. He humiliated himself, Zelensky. And everyone knows the last thing Zelensky wants, who's a dictator, right? His term is over. He's still in office. He's outlawed political opposition. He's outlawed freedom of the press, and he's even outlawed freedom of religion in Ukraine. He is a dictator. And for those of you out there who say, well, we never have missed an election during any of our wars in this country, including the Civil War, all right? So if we can do it, Ukraine could do it. But Zelensky doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to do that because he loses control, And, corrupt politicians, and you see this from time to time. Politicians are involved in a scandal, and they won't resign. I give an example away from that kind of politics. We had that god-awful shooting in Parkland years ago, and it happened due to the incompetence of the sheriff of the county at the time, the school board, and the superintendent, and the administration of that school, and there was a lot of scandal with it. And eventually, the sheriff was removed from office by Governor Ron DeSantis. And he knew he was in trouble, the sheriff, but he wouldn't step down because if he stepped down, he lost control. And he thought he could maintain control and ride it out. And he could. You see this all the time with politicians that are in trouble. They're busted in some type of scandal and they just won't resign. Now, sometimes, a Democrat can weather that storm sometimes, right? Because Democrats have really almost immunity to do almost anything they want to do. And Zelensky's in that position. He doesn't want to give up the power, and he doesn't want to give up the money. And he's become a mockery. Even Bill Maher, he was talking over the weekend on his HBO show about his dinner with the president at the White House, and he told a joke at the expense of Zelensky when he was telling the story. He said his friends were asking him what he was going to wear to the White House. And he said, I don't know, but I'm certainly not going to wear what Zelensky wore. And everybody laughed at Zelensky. He's become a joke. And Zelensky has this, this justification for him being a dictator that, we can't have any elections while the war's going on. Well, he'll never let the war be over. So what President Trump has done is spectacular. What President Trump has done is gone around Ukraine. They're dealing directly with Russia as if Ukraine's not a player. And that's going to be it. The president at some point will come out with some type of peace agreement with Putin. And those of you out there on Iran, Iran is allied with Russia because Russia's got very few people they can do business with. And Iran's doing business with Russia, and they're doing business with China. China's buying a lot of oil from Iran. And I promise you that part of whatever peace deal Trump makes with Putin, there's going to be an Iran component together to get them to cut off their relationship with Iran. because whatever they get out of Iran, it's nothing compared to what they can get when they have the rest of the world to deal with. But anyway, Witkoff, he was on Hannity last night talking with Hannity about the peace deal with Russia and Ukraine.
Do you really see a deal emerging? Are you confident?
I think you used a very good word there, Sean, emerging. I do. This is the third meeting I've had with him. This last meeting lasted close to 5 hours. We had two of his key advisors in the room at the time, Ushakov and Kirill Dmitriev. And it was a compelling meeting. And towards the end, we actually came up with, and I'm going to say finally, but I don't mean it in the way that we were waiting. I mean it in the way that it took a while for us to get to this place. What Putin's request is to have a permanent peace here. So beyond a ceasefire, we got an answer to that.
Okay, so Steve Witkoff, he's on the verge of a major agreement. He's dealing directly with Putin and his top man. And that's it. You know, since when did the left, right, become this pro-war party? They've always been opposed to war, except this time. And if you notice, the pro-Ukrainian celebrity voices have evaporated. Why do you think that is? Why are we not hearing from these pro-war celebrities? Ben Stiller and all the rest. Sean Penn or a whole bunch of others. You know why? Because Doge shut down USAID. And USAID was buying support from the celebrities and financing their trips there. I got to tell you, you know, the entire liberal opposition has all but evaporated since Doge shut down USAID, hasn't it? You know, and you really got to wonder how much of the narratives that we've been dealing with the last 30 years or more have been false narratives promoted by USAID. A huge chunk of them, no doubt about it. And since USAID was shut down, we're hearing nothing so far as prominent people, famous people supporting Ukraine or traveling over there, or even Zelensky traveling around. The party's over for Zelensky. And what's going to happen is Witkoff and President Trump are going to come out. They're going to be holding the peace agreement in their hand. And then what's Zelensky going to do? You know, and, you know, President Trump understands these foreign leaders, these dictator types. They care about power and they care about money, but they care about money more than anything. And I imagine what President Trump will do is he'll make a very good offer to Zelensky. And this will be the offer. You know all that money you've stolen and you have stashed in Cayman bank accounts, Swiss bank accounts? If you sign the peace agreement, you can keep it. If you don't, we're going to take all the money. That's it. That's the deal. And I think that's worth it, don't you? That's how Trump operates. That's why when he meets with somebody like Kim Jong-un, he's able to deal with them because these guys care. They care about money and they care about power, but they really care about the money, right? And I think that's a good deal for Zelensky. Let him, you know, one day we're going to wake up and find out that a plane took off from Kiev. It's got Zelensky and his family, and they're flying off to live in exile somewhere. Where that is, I don't know. Probably one of these European countries. You know, they like bad guys like Roman Polanski and others and harboring them. So he'll find some place. But he'll have his money, and we'll have peace, and the war will be over. And I think that's a good deal. If President Trump did that, even if we don't know that he makes that kind of deal, I would imagine that's the kind of deal they'll make with Zelensky to get it over with. But when President Trump comes out with that peace deal with Putin and it's all signed and ready to go, and all it needs is Zelensky's signature, Zelensky's going to be put in a very tough position. All right, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. My name's Brian. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. And all you big mouth trolls, you're welcome to challenge me. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Call us on hold. Hang in there. Our number, toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. Notice, we haven't heard from any of these defenders of the Maryland man today. I guess Stephen Miller, the President of the United States, and the President of El Salvador woke them up. Now, I want to talk about coastal weight loss secret. It is absolutely amazing. I've lost so much weight. I stopped weighing myself, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm going by just how I look. And I was talking yesterday. This is amazing. My body, I have lost the weight in the areas that are the most difficult to lose weight as you grow older. The stomach. And my stomach's completely flat now. My body is in the shape that it was in when I was 20 or 21 years old. I never thought I'd be able to lose that belly fat. That's just something you get as you grow older, I was thinking. But that's not the case. Coastal Weight Loss Secret has rid me of having that belly. It is absolutely amazing. And I didn't think it was possible. I really didn't think Now, I knew I was going to lose weight, but I thought I would still have a belly, because I just thought that's what guys have over 50, over 40. And that is not the case. And not only that, not only have I lost the belly fat, and I've lost some waist sizes too, I'm starting to get definition in my torso. Now remember, I've done zero exercise. I'm eating foods I would normally eat, okay? And I'm not taking any medications, no Ozempic or anything. It's absolutely amazing. Coastal Weight Loss Secret works. I'm going to give you the number. Give them a call. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. No matter how much weight you want to lose, 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150 pounds, give them a call. It works. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. We're hearing a lot of the liberal opposition today. Now, President Trump has done something that is just amazing and spectacular. And if you're on hold, hang in there. I'll go back to the phones in a minute. He is deporting another student. This is absolutely amazing. And this is another one from Columbia. Columbia University is where so much of this radicalization is happening in this country. Yesterday we were talking about this Islamic community that they're trying to build in Texas to turn Texas blue. They are on a good path of turning huge sections of New York into Londonstan, right? A Columbia University grad who organized pro-Palestinian protest has been detained by ICE agents after turning up for his U.S. citizenship interview. Isn't this something? Video shows the moment the Palestinian refugee was escorted out of the immigration processing building in Vermont in handcuffs. This is amazing. This guy is organizing and representing and organizing support for a terrorist organization, Hamas. And he was about to become a U.S. citizen. Well, That U.S. Citizenship meeting turned out to be a sting operation. I haven't seen a sting operation by the feds since Reagan was president. This is what they used to do, right? They would call up wanted fugitives and tell them they want tickets to the Super Bowl, come and pick them up, and they'd find out they were arrested. Remember those things? I haven't seen a sting operation like this in a long time. They used to do them all the time back in the 80s. This is beautiful. This idea that you can come over here and organize for a terrorist organization, those days are over. And just because Hamas is a terrorist organization that a lot of liberals like because they kill Jews doesn't mean you're allowed to do it. It's like organizing for ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Trinidad de Agua. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Bob, and I'm from Kentucky.
All right, Bob. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
I would like to talk about Kentucky and Kentucky bourbon. And the fact that Trump attacked Canada for no reason, and now our bourbon sales are in the tank. Not to mention travel from Canada and people vacationing and coming to the United States to spend their money is down 70%. They are banning or boycotting coming to the United States. Then I'd like to talk about the Iowa farmers.
Well, hold on. Let's stop on the first thing. Okay? Now, one of the things, President Trump in regards to Canada uncovered a lot of things. They're ripping us off, right? They had these crazy tariffs.
No, they're not.
They're not anymore, but they were, and we've been paying
What do you mean they were ripping us off? We had the free trade agreement.
No, there was no free trade. There was no free trade. They have huge.
Yes, there was. Trump made
let me explain to you. Okay, they have tariffs that are as high as 200% and 300% on certain products. So far, but that's true. One of the things and they've been stealing our industries, like our auto industry. Think about. Excuse me, you're from Kentucky. People from Kentucky that I've known have good manners, Southern hospitality. Okay, Canada has been. Think about this. They've been since Bill Clinton sold us out with NAFTA. They've stolen so much of our manufacturing. An example are the American auto industry. So they steal the American auto industry. And then they want to charge us import taxes on our own cars? It's insane. Now, but one of the things that President Trump exposed about Canada's got a big problem. It's called alcoholism. Because when I hear the Canadians talk, they're obsessed over their Kentucky bourbon and other liquors. What is going on in Canada that there's such an alcohol problem? But you say that...
I really don't... Yeah. I really don't care.
Oh, okay.
That's their problem. Okay. My concern is American business.
Yeah.
And by the way, the weighted average tariff rate for Canada of most favored nations was as high as 3.4%. Okay. So just stop with your lies. Trump's
what lie have I? Excuse me. What lie have I told? What lie have I told?
Are you gonna? I let you talk. Are you gonna let me talk?
What lie? You called me a liar. What lie did I tell?
You're saying that there's 200% tariffs
on some products, on some dairy products. There are, yes.
Maybe there's a very targeted type thing, but dairy products, the tariffs never even kick in because the quota's never met.
Yeah.
I study this stuff for a living.
So, I'll tell you this. The tariff situation is unequal. What President Trump is doing is common. Excuse me.
Let me explain.
No, you're not going to explain squat to me. We're going to have a conversation. What President Trump is doing is incredibly reasonable. He calls it reciprocal tariffs. So what he's saying is, if you have a 10% tariff on our goods, we're going to have a 10% tariff on yours. If you have a 40% tariff on our goods, we're going to have a 40% tariff on yours. What's wrong with that?
That he lied about the rates of the tariffs.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
He did lie about them. Name a country, a most favored nation, what their tariff is.
Well, and in China, some of it depends on the items, but China, like Canada, have stolen American jobs, American manufacturing, and they charge us tariffs. Some of the tariffs are 50, 60%.
You know China's weighted average tariff is?
I don't care what their weighted average. They have some tariffs that are 50, 60% on items.
It's
plus
30%.
Plus China steals our intellectual property and violates our trademarks and copyrights and everything else all the time. This is documented. But this is what I'm confused about with you, okay? You're from Kentucky? You born and raised in Kentucky?
Yes.
Where'd you grow up in Kentucky?
I grew up in Paducah.
Paducah, Kentucky. Why is a guy from Paducah, Kentucky, not America first, but China first and Canadian first? Why are you advocating for these other countries?
Because I'm highly educated.
Oh, so you learn in school to advocate for other countries, not America?
Yeah, I study economics and trade.
Oh, okay. So
I know how these things work. And the way Trump is doing this is complete chaos. It's, the tariffs are on, then they're off. We're going to change this.
Well, that's not true. What you said's not true.
Anyone's going to come and build a business?
Yes, they're doing it all the time. There's countries every day announcing projects.
Before Trump was even in office.
No, there are every day. Excuse me, almost every single day. There's another company announcing they're going to open up some type of facility in the United States.
Yeah, no shit.
All right, there we go. Okay, there's Mr. We had to hit the dump, Mike. Mr. Educated, using profanity. Is that what he? Is that how he learned to speak in school? You know, I question that guy, whether or not he was really from Kentucky, because there's too much anger in his voice towards the United States. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, there's just a hostility. What import taxes should be is they should be equal. If you've got a 5%, we got a 5%. What's wrong with that? And all these trade deals that are out of whack, they're just ripping us off. I don't understand why liberals like that guy believe that it's okay for these countries to charge whatever they want on imports, but we can't. And the fake news story that President Trump is raising the things, that's not true. He did an across the board with that 10% on the countries that are sending representatives to negotiate new trade deals as a good faith effort in the negotiation. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's me again.
No, one call per day. It's one call per day, especially after the profanity. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Joe. I'm from Jupiter, Florida.
Hey, Joe in Jupiter. What's up?
Okay, so I think you're wasting your time trying to talk to these people. They cannot be convinced of the truth. They'll never see it. They will never see the truth.
Well, you know, what happens is, because you heard the one guy said, his answer was spectacular, and it was it was the only honest moment from him in that conversation. And this is what it is. I said, why is a guy from Kentucky advocating for China and Canada? And he says, because I'm highly educated. See, you go to these fancy schools, and what do you learn? To hate America.
Right. And, you know, I was talking to somebody at work, and I was telling them, why wouldn't you put America first? Why not? Why aren't we first?
Exactly.
I mean, what about tariffs? They can put tariffs against us, but we can't put it against. And this is my nephew, he's a CFO, whatever that means. And,
Chief Financial Officer.
Well, So anyhow, listen, it was a pleasure listening to you, and I'm going to continue listening.
All right. Well, I appreciate the call. But, you know, what you've got with a caller like that, you know, Steve Kane has this phrase that's a really good one. Figures don't lie, but liars can figure. And you could throw out all kinds of numbers. But, you know, I was talking about this yesterday. I am tariff talked out. I really am. I think President Trump's position on that issue is a perfect common sense and very fair position. He's not advocating for out-of-whack import taxes. You know what he's talking about with the reciprocal. Everything that can be said has been said. And what you have with the left right now is a desperate attempt to confuse the issue. It's how many times can you go around the same wheel and say the same thing over and over again about the tariffs? That's right. You can only do it so many times. All right, listen. If you're on hold, hang in there. Our number's toll free 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. Oh, just found something out. Just found something out. I'm going to share it with you when we get back. If you're on hold, hang in there. Oh, yeah. I'm going to, just found something out. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back in 1 minute. Oh, boy. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, guys, okay? Oh, this is great. Welcome, everyone. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to share this. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. Callers on hold, stand by. I just did some checking during the break, and the guy that was calling from Kentucky was actually calling from the state of New York. And those of you that are longtime listeners of this program, okay, you've heard me talk about this quite a bit. The late, great Rush Limbaugh used to, yeah, that's right. He used to talk about seminar callers. And let me explain what that is, a seminar caller, which that guy obviously was. As soon as he said Kentucky, I was on alert, and I would have exposed this in the call if he did not use the profanity, and I had to let him go. Seminar callers is defined by Rush are fake callers put out by the Democrats to call programs like this one to push agendas. That's what a seminar caller is. And what I've noticed since Trump's first term, since the MAGA movement came along, most seminar callers, for some reason, claim to be from Kentucky. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but every time I get a call from Kentucky, 9 times out of 10, it's a seminar caller calling from somewhere else. And my only guess is that the DNC has this stereotype of MAGA people, and we're all from Kentucky, and we're married to our cousins or something. But that guy, he may call back and deny it, but I've got caller ID, okay? He was calling from the state of New York. He was not calling from Kentucky. So he was most definitely a seminar caller. And I did hear a slight Canadian accent. And I was about to get into that and all of these things before we used the profanity, but that's okay. We got him. All right, let's go. 1-888-465-2631. And the seminar callers, I consider it an honor that the DNC has put this program up on that level to be targeted to try to sell their nonsense. But, the late, great Rush Limbaugh. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Chase. I'm actually, I was just listening to your talk about people from Kentucky. I'm not from Kentucky, but I'm from the neighboring state of Indiana. I'm near around the area of Louisville, Kentucky, which you can see through my caller ID.
Okay. You're not in Kentucky. You're nearby Kentucky. So what's the point?
Well, the point is that I work in Kentucky. I work in Louisville, but I travel.
Okay,
and
what's the significant? Who cares? What's the point?
The whole point is nigger.
Oh, there you go. All right, there you go, Mike. Had to hit the dump button again. Oh my goodness. I tell you, these people. If you're on hold, hang in there. We've got to wait for the delay to re-engage. But while we're doing that, I'm going to talk about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. Dr. Appleton's laser away pain treatment works, guys. He's rid me of pain 7 times, and I've met so many listeners that are now living without pain because of Dr. Appleton. And, Dr. Appleton's been with us about 2.5 years on the program. It is so amazing, not just in my own personal life that I'm living pain-free now. My knee pain that I had since I was 20, gone. My arthritis pain, gone. The pain I've had from shoulder injuries, gone. All those things. But I love meeting listeners who are now living pain-free because I introduced them to Dr. Appleton. It feels good because, living with pain's tough. And some of the pains that I had were so bad that I just wanted to go to sleep. With the laser away pain treatment, not only does it work, there's no shots, no injections, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. It's 100% painless, and it works on every type of pain I have ever heard of. Arthritis, bursitis, strains and sprains, work and sports injuries, post-surgical swelling, repetitive motion injuries, neck injuries, back injuries, knee conditions like I had, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and that is a very incomplete list, people. Give Dr. Appleton a call. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. Give Dr. Appleton a call and say bye-bye to your pain, too. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right. The delay is re-engaged. Our number, 1-888-465-2631. And obviously the liberals are unglued this morning. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Greg.
Hey, Greg.
Listen, listen, you opened up mainly with this, like the second coming of Jesus, this president of El Salvador, who you're idolizing all of a sudden.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Do you know anything about him?
No, all I know is he's the first leader. I don't even know his name. I can't remember his name. But what I do know...
You don't even know his name?
No, I just said that. Yes, I just said that. You can repeat it with emphasis to make it sound like you made a point. But this is what I know about the president of El Salvador, other than I was very impressed by him yesterday. That's why I played the audio of him in the first hour. But here's the other thing. He is the only foreign leader that I ever have known of who's gone to the White House, had a press conference with any president of the United States, and was helping the United States with a major crisis that we're being confronted with, in this instance, the illegals, okay, and doing it for totally selfless reasons. And I'm pretty impressed that El Salvador may be the only true ally this country has in the world.
Well, let me just point out, let's address that point. By the way, we're giving him millions of dollars. He's not doing this out of the generosity.
Yeah, sure he is. He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to do this.
We've already given him $6 million up front. Do you know where that money's going to? Also,
yeah, a lot of it's probably going to maintain the prison.
Oh, do you think they spend much money on a prison?
Yes, have you seen that place? It's very high tech.
Yeah, they probably high tech. They got the technology there. All that $6 million is not going to housing.
$6 million?
It's going right into his.
My goodness.
That's a start off.
All of a sudden, these never Trumpers are fiscal conservatives. I didn't hear you praising all the money that Doge exposed was being. I would rather them send I would rather them send $6 million to El Salvador, who's housing these terrorists, than the hundreds of millions that has been spent on all these things that Doge has exposed. I mean, come on, Greg.
This great man you love, he's Palestinian and anti-Israel. What are your thoughts on that?
I have no thoughts on that. He's doing a great service for the United States.
Use your brain for a moment. Use your brain for just a minute. What do you think of his anti-Israel?
I don't know any. I don't know. I do not know anything about that, and I'm certainly not going to take your word for it. But I know this.
Because
he has a strong
due diligence.
I don't need to do due diligence. We've got a problem, and he's helping us take care of it. That's all I need to know. And even if what you said is true, you know that old saying, right? I mean, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right. He's doing a great service for us with the illegal terrorist.
And he's putting nice $6 million in his pocket. God bless him.
Really,
and
it's going in his bank account? You know that for a fact?
You really think? Like do you know all these facts that you say? Do you know what's his name from Ukraine? Do you know he's putting money into his name? Accounts?
Of course he is. Of course he is. There's been no accounting for
that. How do you know that?
Because it's been widely reported that they have not been able to account for the monies that have been sent to Ukraine. Even Zelensky hasn't accounted for it. CNN, Fox,
reported. Oh,
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene is so irrelevant now; it's hilarious.
Oh, but you're relevant.
That lady.
She is very relevant.
She's not. But the point is, you are praising this guy from El Salvador.
No, excuse me. I'm not praising him. President Trump honored him yesterday, and was praising him.
Honored him for getting $6 million to take some and put him in their gulag.
If they gave a gulag,
what did you think? What did you think of Trump's statement? Let's hear your clear, concise thought on this, if you have
Which
one.
statement? I went through a whole bunch of them earlier. I'm almost out of time, so hurry up.
Yeah, but you didn't do what that he would even send Americans there.
Well, it's a foreign country. Sending Americans there is a little unusual. All right, I appreciate the call, Greg. All right, hour number 2 is done. We're coming up on our top of the hour break. If you notice, the liberals a little unhinged. My name's Brian Craig. You're listening to The Steve Kane Show. If you're on hold, stand by. 2 hours down, 1 to go. Our number's toll free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be back right after our top of the hour break. Greg, too, everything he said about this guy is just not true. Mm-hmm. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back shortly. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. Welcome back, everyone. If you're on hold, hang in there. Hour number 3 has begun. It's the Steve Kane Show. Now, I looked up pretty much everything Greg, too, said was not true. okay? There's one thing he said. There are two things he said that's true. The guy's the president of El Salvador, and he is of Palestinian descent. However, he condemns Hamas. He condemned those attacks on Israel, and he sides with Israel. And I'm going to post an article about him to my X right now. And you guys, there's a very long and detailed article I was glancing over during the break. But here's a quote: As a Salvadorian of Palestinian ancestry, I'm sure the best thing that could happen to the Palestinian people is for Hamas to completely disappear. Those savage beasts do not represent the Palestinians, he said. There you go. He's on the right side of that issue, too. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Greg. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. James from Boca.
Hey, Boca, what's up?
Not much. Hey, I think everybody in America is trying to watch money and where we've all been ripped off for the last couple of decades. So at $6 million that we give El Salvador, in America, that would only cover like 100 prisoners, if not less.
Yeah.
For a year. So, I mean, we've already paid these people $30,000 a year for their vacation to come here. And now they want to arrest them and put them in our prison and charge us twice as much. I believe shipping them home and to their countries is the best thing that we can do.
If we're helping,
and I don't know why any American, I don't know why any American would want a terrorist, a killer, or a raper in their own country.
Because they hate Trump, and their Trump hatred trumps everything. And I mean, and look at Greg. You know, here's a guy, this guy from El Salvador, this president down there, and I throw this challenge out. Maybe you got an example. When have you seen another country truly do something to help America with a crisis for selfless reasons? The $6 million, I don't even know if that's true, because everything else Greg said was not true, barely probably covers the expense of transporting and feeding these terrorists.
Well, look at the guards. The guards alone, when you see them in the videos, there's hundreds of guards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got to cost something to run that.
Yeah.
It isn't like we lock them in a kennel like a dog and just throw food at them every day. I mean, maybe there, but, not in our prisons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But have a good day. Got to get to work.
All right. Take care. Great call. Great call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
I owe you a total apology, and I owe everybody an apology. I mean, I had time to think about it. You invited me into your home, and I attacked you, and totally off base. I never should have done that.
I felt like
sorry.
I accept your apology, and I'm not going to hold it against you, but I felt like somebody got you worked up about me, because your anger was just not normal yesterday.
I was out of line. Oh, totally. I mean, out of line.
Well, did somebody get you worked up or something?
I called you, and I was. It's not that I was thinking about Israel, but after I saw something, I watched something yesterday, and it really disturbed me. After I called you, and I realized I don't know a damn thing about what's going on in this country, and it's sick. If you ever get the chance, watch Tucker Carlson's interview with the ex-congressman.
I saw it.
The 9/11 thing.
I saw it.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So I don't know anything about what's really going on, and I attacked you, and I shouldn't have.
Okay. Apology accepted and appreciated.
And here's the thing about Greg's last call. It really lit me up. It's quite. I don't even know how to say it. With him calling about $6 million now into this man's pocket. Well, what about how much money did it cost the American taxpayer to put these people up in luxury hotels in New York and all over the country, fly them everywhere, and put them up and feed them every day their ethnic food, and have them prey on our women and children?
$6 million. $6 million is a lot of money. However, when you look at all the money that Elon and Doge have exposed, to complain about $6 million to house these prisoners in El Salvador, it's a joke. And everything he said about the guy was untrue, except he's a Palestinian descent. He is of Palestinian descent, a strong supporter of Israel. He's right on that issue too, and has been condemning Hamas. Those were just slanders from Greg about him.
It's amazing. It's amazing, though. They're putting them up in hotels, and literally, how much money did it cost every day for one of these animals? And I call them animals. What they did to, and you know who should be down there in that gulag? I know he'll call up tomorrow and say so. Biden should be right in that gulag down there.
Well, you know, this guy, this illegal that was convicted yesterday of raping and murdering the jogger. How much did it cost just to try him? Right? That whole thing. Millions. Yeah, exactly.
That's what he doesn't understand. He's an attorney. I mean, he attacks you just to attack you, which is really sad. I mean, if you're going to attack Brian, have something of substance. Don't come up with this.
Yeah, like you yesterday.
That's garbage. Yeah, I was wrong.
What got you worked up? What got you so angry at me yesterday? I'm curious. It wasn't just the topic. It couldn't have been just the topic. That's crazy.
Well, actually, I'll tell you the truth. Okay, when I was your age, and when I was your age, driving the bus as a bus driver. See, you never saw me at that particular. Well, you did. Do you know how much I weighed at 55 years old? I was 6'2". You know what I weighed? I got pictures to show you. I was 172 pounds. And you want to know what? As a retired guy, and actually doing the wrong thing, just sitting watching, like you said, all day long, watching all these programs, I put on a tremendous amount of weight for me. And at this stage of the game, it's very difficult.
I was right. I was right. It was my message about Coastal Weight Loss Secret and all the weight I've been losing. That triggered you?
No, that's a smart thing. No, it's that when I was your age, I was thin. I was actually thinner than you are right now.
Okay.
I had a 31-inch waist.
Oh my goodness.
And I put it all on afterwards.
Yeah,
retirement is not a good thing. When
all
you
right,
sit
Richie.
on a
Listen,
couch.
I appreciate the call, and I accept the apology. All right, take care. All right. Okay, let's go. Let's see here. The phones are ringing off the hook. There we go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from North Carolina.
All right, North Carolina. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to say that you said that a person who calling from a number with a different area code is not real. I have a different area code there in North Carolina.
That guy, let me tell you. Okay, that guy that called, okay, one, there was no Kentucky accent, which is very distinct. I heard a slight Canadian accent, and he had an out-of-state area code from where he claimed, which was, in New York along the Canadian border. That guy, everything about him was fake. Now, I was about to go through that with him, but then he dropped some profanity, and I had to discontinue the call. So the guy was a complete fraud and liar.
Cell phones
I'm not basing it. Excuse me. If you listen to what I just said, I wasn't basing it solely on his phone number. I was letting him talk a little bit, and I heard a slight Canadian accent too. So you put.
You don't have an accent from Kentucky. Not everybody have an accent from.
But not many. I don't think anybody. I don't think anyone in Kentucky has a slight Canadian accent.
You don't know that, though. That's
I do know that. I do know that. Why would somebody from? Really? You know people from? Excuse me. You know.
3 or 4 generations.
You know people. Oh my goodness. You know. Excuse me.
Y'all people.
All right. Thank you for the call, lady. I mean, she knows what she wants you to believe. She knows people from Kentucky that have Canadian accents. Come on. Trump derangement syndrome turns people into liars. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey.
Oh, hey, Jay.
God. I said to myself, I wasn't going to call you today. I just don't understand how you spin all these stories. And just because you hear it on the news and you watch it and read it, that is all true. You set up and said, you played the tape where all of a sudden the United States loses $6 trillion in the stock market, and all of a sudden President Trump gets $6 trillion to that investments are coming over here. You believe every lie that man tells, and then you tell so many lies yourself. And Richie, you sound like a wimp. You couldn't even stand up on your own 2 feet. You had to cower back to him and tell him, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Heck, you sorry for. Be a man.
What Richie did was very manly. He did something wrong, and he admitted his mistake and apologized. That takes a lot of guts.
No, he just didn't agree with you, and you started calling him fat.
No, I didn't call him fat.
You thought you did.
No, I didn't call him fat.
Richie, and I lost weight.
I didn't call him fat. But I was. Yes, I said the weight I have lost is what triggered him, and he admitted that. He said in his apology.
You said that you're mad because I talked about the fat lady, and now because you're fat, you think that you're mad at me.
I didn't say because you're fat. I did not say because you're fat. I wouldn't say something so crude.
Oh my God! So you need to go back and listen. You don't know.
I may have implied it. But I wouldn't say something so crude.
Implying it is the same thing as calling it.
I'm sorry you're upset that Richie and I are friends again.
No, I'm glad you and Richie are friends again. You're 2 peas in a pod, two races together.
Yes.
But why do you make up all these lies? You have no idea how much money that Elon Musk is stealing and giving himself government contracts.
Really? What contract?
Like
okay. The richest man in the world, what government contract did he steal and give to himself?
He stole a contract that has to do with the all
right. We'll be right back. Hey Barry, it's Brian. I'll put you on hold. I'll be with you shortly. Hold on. Oh my goodness. The liberals are not doing well today. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. My name's Brian Craig, and it's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, what do you have for us this morning?
Hey, good morning, Brian. This morning I wanted to talk about the fact that most of us do not have long-term care insurance, and even if we do, we typically don't have enough to cover the expenses that would be related to the cost of care for ourselves or our spouse. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you have the language, the long-term care language in your estate plan, because if you run out of money during your lifetime, then who cares what the estate plan says, because there's nothing that it's going to govern. So you need to make sure that you have the long-term care or elder law language in your estate planning documents. That could make the difference between allowing the government to pay the bulk of your long-term care costs or it coming out of your pocket and spending down your assets and potentially going broke. And that's why it's important to deal with an attorney who does estate planning and elder law at the same time, understands both areas, to make sure that it's going to work both ways. Both, if God forbid you do need long-term care, and if you're lucky enough not to need long-term care, so that your assets will go to your loved ones in the way that you wanted it to, not go to the heirs that you did not intend for it to go to. Make sure they have that bloodline protection, avoid probate and guardianship. All of those things need to be covered.
Yeah, and with the long-term care insurance, you purchase that, you pay for it, you may never use it. With the Medicaid planning, once people have that set up, Barry, that's not something they're paying on every month like an insurance premium on a long-term care policy. It's set up, right?
That's correct. They're doing their estate planning documents, which they need to do anyway. And so the language is embedded in there that's going to help many people who would not otherwise be able to qualify. And there's no monthly payments or anything that anybody needs to do in order to get that eligibility. You just get your estate planning done the proper way with the elder law language in it. And then down the road, if you ever need to qualify for Medicaid, then that's something that our law firm can help people with. But it's not like an ongoing premium like you would pay with a long-term care.
It's a win-win. I don't know why everyone doesn't do this just when they have their trust set up. They should just have this done automatically. It's a win-win. Give the Siegel Law Group a call. Now, remember, if you mention you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the program, it's a no-charge consultation with the Siegel Law Group, and the Siegel Law Group can help you no matter where you are located in the state of Florida. Here's the number. It's toll-free, 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Siegel, we'll talk later in the week.
All right, thank you, Brian.
All right, take care. Wow, well, the liberal callers are unhinged. We'll go back to our phones at 1-888-465-2631. I will say this, it was very nice of Richie the bus driver to call in and apologize. That's not an easy thing to do. And I'm glad that he did, because I've known Richie for a long time, and I was his call yesterday. There was so much rage. It was. I felt bad about it. All right, let's go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Frankie from the Bronx, now in MAGA Martin County. How you doing, Brian?
All right, Frankie. What's up?
I got a little nugget to throw out to some of your inept, stupid callers.
Yes.
All you have to do is look up the word tariff on the phone. It's been a while since I'm out of school. It not only gives you a 5-minute dissertation explanation of a tariff, it also mentions Trump in the explanation. This is on your cell phone. And you will see dramatically how Trump is applying them perfectly to this country and this nation. And what he's doing is almost, it's just college-rated material. It was fantastic. Tell them to look at. They don't know what they're looking at.
This is the thing. Everybody should look it up. I'm gonna. Any information's good. However, tariffs, import taxes. This is high school level stuff. We all know it.
Yeah.
And I said yesterday, and I'm saying it again today. I am tariff talked out because it's just a stupid issue to debate. President Trump's position is so reasonable that over 75 countries in the world agreed with him, and that's why they're sending delegations to work it out.
He's doing a marvelous job. He's doing it's all textbook. And if you look it up, I'm out of school 50 years. I'm an old guy. And I had to look it up for myself. And when I went to school in New York, that's when education was education. You got education, not ideology. And what I looked up was a quick remembrance of what I remember from being in school, from being in high school. And if these people would just look it up, I don't care whether you're conservative or liberal, they will see that this man is doing a grandiose job in representing his people. That's
Absolutely.
us.
All right, take care.
And by the way, you're doing a fantastic job since you're back from vacation. You come back like a lion.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, hey, everybody needs a little bit of a vacation from time to time.
You're doing a beautiful job. Keep it up.
All right, take care. I need a little recharge. Just a little recharge. It helps. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right. Once, twice, you missed your chance. If you're on hold, hang in there. Our number's toll free, 1-888-465-2631. 1-888-465-2631. And I really mean it. You know, when I got these calls on the tariffs today. I mean, what else can be said? President Trump's position is such a common sense, reasonable position. It's one of those positions that is nonpartisan. It just makes sense. There's two types of people opposing President Trump on this. The ones that are getting rich off the inequality of the tariff system around the world that have been selling our country out, and people that are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome that are just going to disagree with President Trump no matter what he says. If he says the sky's blue, they're going to tell you it's not blue. You're lying. Why you're lying? It's not blue. I mean, come on. How I understand it. It's just a dumb topic to discuss at this point. Nothing else can be said that has not been said 1,000,001 times, and it's a topic that I'm just bored with. Frankly, I'm sorry to tell you. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, brother Brian, IB. Good morning.
Hey, IB.
Man, with the foolishness that I'm hearing, I don't know where to start, but I'll give Richie kudos because he brought up the stupid $6 million with Greg too. Hey, the president can give, as we do, South American countries monies for different reasons. They just always have to feed the fuel of their base. We remember how long ago we were talking about eggs. So they just have to have the next thing to talk about, just throwing like a dog a bone. It's ridiculous already. These people have to be housed, even if president, and he's making it transparent. We're going to give the guy $6 million, whatever he thinks is best.
Now,
for
first
his country.
off, we don't know.
Transparent.
We don't know what the truth is about that. All we know is what Greg said. But you're right, IB. I gotta run, but I do appreciate the call. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jim?
Yes, Jim.
Are you on cocaine?
No.
How come you make so many noises? Like, you sound like a cocaine addict.
Oh, really? What's a cocaine addict sound like?
You got sometimes it sounds
Why
like
are you so familiar with what cocaine addicts sound like?
Because I used to.
Because you used to do it. There you go. We used to do cocaine. There you go. So I'm being criticized by a cokehead. Oh, boy. All right. Let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. We'll be right back. Oh, my goodness. That was a great answer that guy gave. Because he used to do cocaine. That was nice. That was nice. I don't know. I'm having this effect on men in this audience that is rather bizarre. Mm-hmm. $5,000 square foot house with 5 acres of land. What is that, a prison, bozo? Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you. Welcome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. This is most definitely where MAGA comes to talk. This is a bottom of the hour break on the radio. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show. You know, that caller earlier that claimed to be from Kentucky, the seminar caller where I heard the slight Canadian accent, he had a New York phone number and all that stuff. And then that lunatic lady from North Carolina, how do you know? How do you know? I have a sense for these things, okay? I have been talking to people for over 30 years on open phones like I'm doing now. And I have a very trained ear. And when I'm talking to a caller, I could hear things that you may not notice. I can come to conclusions based on the way somebody says hello. When I say, you're on the air, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And you see this displayed all the time, like with that seminar caller. But there was an incredible instance of it yesterday with Richie the bus driver. If you heard Richie the bus driver's call yesterday, he was in a rage. He was so angry, I was uncomfortable with it. I was really uncomfortable with it. And I said to Steve, remember we took a break, came back, I said, I figured out why Richie's so upset. It's all this weight I've lost thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. And then I went on to do the message for Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Richie called in earlier today. You may have missed the call. If not, if you did, you should go back and listen to it. He called in and apologized and admitted it was about my weight loss that triggered him. I got a good ear with the callers, and that's an example of it. And I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. You know, what I was talking about yesterday, which is really amazing. I got out of the shower, and I'm getting ready in front of the mirror in my bathroom. I have my shirt off. And I saw my body, and it's like I was looking back. It was a mirror looking into the past, because the body I saw was the way I looked when I was 20 or 21 years old. And on Sunday, I'm going to turn 54. I have done something, thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret, that I thought was impossible. I have completely lost my belly. I have a flat stomach. I even have definition now, and again, no exercise. I'm eating foods I would normally eat, and I'm not taking any medications like Ozempic, okay? It's amazing. Coastal Weight Loss Secret works. If you want to lose weight, give them a call. I'm going to give you the number. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. Now, if you want to lose 20 pounds, 25 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150 pounds or more, they can help. It works. It really is amazing. Here's the number, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. LostSecret.com. All right, back to the phones we shall go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name?
Yeah, hi, Brian. It's Mike from Massapequa.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I've had a hard time hearing, but I just wanted to express my utter disdain for Greg, too. More than usual, his calls make it like tasting sour milk.
Oh.
That he would attack the president of El Salvador. The man's grandparents came from the area now called Palestine 100 years ago. Right now, the Palestinian Christians, which he is one of, are being utterly put into extinction by Hamas.
In fact, he's a self-described Christian Zionist.
Yeah, but his any relatives that he has left in Palestine are being killed by Hamas. And for Greg, too, to try to put out that fake story that this guy was anti-Israel is totally disgusting.
It's racism. It's bigotry, right? I mean, because somebody is of Palestinian descent, they support terrorism and rape and murder at the music festival? Well, that's a terrible thing to say.
Yeah. His relatives have been Christian from the time of Jesus. They're not Palestinians. They're from their Holy Land.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I like him even more, knowing all this.
I'm sorry, I really have a hard time hearing you.
Well, that's okay. Well, I appreciate the call. You gave us some good intel. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Never Trumper Steve in Palm City.
Yes, Steve.
You started off okay at 6:03 a.m., and it just kind of went downhill from there. If facts matter, and having to do with Garcia, which is his name, I know you didn't want to mention his name, but your audience needs to understand a few things which you did not get into. You can say as much as you want, and Steve Miller can say it as much as he wants, and Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio. This guy has not been charged or convicted of any crime other than being an illegal immigrant, which your audience will be shocked to know is a misdemeanor on the first.
Well, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, Steve. First of all, two different courts determined he's a member of MS-13. They had an informant.
Wrong.
No,
that is the first one.
No, that is not a lie. That is not a lie. Unless you want to believe that Stephen Miller, the president of the United States, and Marco Rubio are liars, I'm going to take their word over yours. Two courts. If you go, even if you go, excuse me, I am speaking. Even if you read liberal articles, which I did this morning, go read the liberal Wikipedia about him. He was, two courts determined he was MS-13. They had an informant who said he was MS-13. The arresting, the arresting agents, two courts ruled that he was MS-13. The arresting agents.
I'm about to tell you.
Excuse me, I am not done speaking. President Trump designated MS-13 a foreign terrorist organization. He is a member of a terrorist organization. That's it. His visa's no good anymore. He's out. Back to his homeland, El Salvador.
Do I get a chance to speak? Can I speak?
You're speaking.
Okay. Well, okay. The immigration judge in 2019 not only rejected that he was part of MS-13 to that point in front of an immigration judge, he was arrested wearing a Chicago Bulls T-shirt and cap.
Which they said is the outfit of MS-13. But furthermore, forget about the past. He is a excuse me.
The immigration judge barred him from being deported.
Steve,
what part of that do you
slow
not
down.
understand?
Slow down.
That judge said he cannot
slow
be
down.
deported.
Forget about the past. He's a citizen of El Salvador. He's in El Salvador. He's in prison. The president of El Salvador said they're not letting him out of prison, and he can't send a terrorist back to the United States. Are you suggesting?
The Supreme
Excuse
Court,
me.
9-0.
Excuse me. Are you suggesting that the commander-in-chief send a Delta Force team to the prison and kidnap this El Salvadorian citizen? What do you?
Totally unnecessary. He doesn't even have to make a phone call to the president. He was sitting right next to him. Would you mind giving us back the person who we admit we accidentally sent to you? We're paying you $6 million.
He said he's not giving him back. He said he's not giving him back.
Of course not. How stupid do you think we are that, of course, Trump doesn't want to give him back, so that's what the president of El Salvador
Everything,
had to say.
listen, your Rachel Maddow, your Rachel Maddow-like talking points are filled with lies and half-truths.
An immigration judge said you cannot bring him back to El Salvador. That's what a judge said.
It's not up to the judge. It's not up to the judge. Muhammad Atta, excuse me. Muhammad Atta.
What part of that don't you understand?
Muhammad
What part of that don't you understand?
Muhammad Atta had Muhammad Atta had a visa, right? But he was a member of Al Qaeda. When you're a member,
why are we changing subjects? Why are we changing
well, first off,
subjects
I'm
now?
hosting the show, and I decide what the subjects are, not you. Okay, but this is the same subject.
What I'm going to say when I call in. You invite
No,
us to
excuse
call
me,
in.
you're not. You're not going to hijack the topic. He's a member of a terrorist organization. 2 judges said he was MS-13. MS-13 has the designation as a terrorist organization. He's out. That's it. And you can spread your lies and have truth somewhere else. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Eric in Alabama. I haven't spoken with you since November. What is wrong with these liberal callers? Goodness gracious.
Trump derangement syndrome.
I know, but this is absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't.
They've gotten so
this is black and white.
They've gotten so
You know?
deep. They've gotten so deep in it. They want to bring terrorists into the United States now. I mean, that's what they're advocating for. I mean, that's if you listen to them, it's bizarre what they're advocating
This is
for.
unbelievable. I mean, what? I mean, how could they be so twisted? I mean, this is black and white. We're getting the illegals out of this country, and they're criminals and raping, murdering, and this is absolutely
they're
absurd.
listen.
I can't
They're
understand.
the Hate America First crowd. That's it.
Yeah, I know.
You're not going to think of a logical explanation. Everything Steve said about that guy is untrue.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they've been twisted. I guess they're watching too much mainstream media.
And it's not the Supreme Court 9-0 ruled in favor of President Trump and said that judges cannot participate in these foreign policy decisions. It's not in their realm of authority, which is what they've been trying to do.
Oh, I know. That's absolutely correct.
All right,
They're
take
just-
care.
I don't know.
I appreciate the call. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. This is Mike in Lake Worth.
Hey, Mike.
Thanks for taking my call, Brian. I was having a hard time understanding and wrapping my head around what's going on. But the liberals are actually defending China. They're defending cartel members.
Yes.
They're defending Hamas.
That's today's show.
I'm having a hard time.
It's crazy.
This is. I mean, the old pundits the old conservative pundits used to say left is right and right is left and up is down. But this is like a whole nother dimension of defending crime and criminals.
I know, and it's been going on all day. It's crazy.
And then as soon as you really start to talk a little bit of truth to them, they get backed into a corner. They get into a tizzy. Why are you changing the subject? I applaud you for having them on, and I applaud them for even calling. But, I mean, the America that I knew of 25 years ago would have never believed this in a million years.
No, the left have always been on the opposite side. You know, when Ronald Reagan had the arms buildup that led to the defeat of the Soviet Union, they were advocating on the side of the Soviet Union, okay? And I remember when the Berlin Wall fell, it was like a national day of mourning for liberals. They were in tears when the Berlin Wall fell. I mean, you know, they've always been on the wrong side of every issue.
Well, you're right also when you say that they always seem to need a cause. Like, it's not 1968 anymore. Hippies aren't around. Like, they don't need to be defending everything they think that needs to be defended and on top of each other.
Well, and the liberal callers, I want to say, there's two things that gets me to end the call. Well, three things. If I'm up against a break, they use profanity, or like Never Trumper Steve won't take turns talking like you're doing. You got to we can't both talk because nobody can hear anything. It sounds like mud. But, but it's been a very enlightening program listening to these lefties today.
The only thing that I can take from this that's positive is that Trump has their heads spinning and spinning and spinning, and they don't know where the carousel is going to stop. They just jump off. They really don't know what's going on. And it's just, I mean, again, like I've said before to you, it's just such a blessing to know that Donald is protecting us and he has our back.
That's right. All right, take care. Appreciate the call.
Thank you for taking my call, Brian.
All right, thank you. Yes, that was a reasonable man. All right, we'll take our last break and be back. Hey, William, just got you. Hold on. All right, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking today?
Metals continue to look very strong, Brian. The market yesterday giving us a little bit of a buying opportunity when it pulled back $27 on gold to close out the day at $3,209. That was after the Friday uptick of $60. So that just giving us a little bit of a pullback on profit taking. But silver was up 3 cents yesterday, closing at $32.26 the ounce. Platinum gained $4 at $9.48. And palladium was up $39 at $9.41. Overnight, we see gold trading in a range of $3,208 all the way up to $3,233. Right now we're at $32.2150. That's up $12.50. Silver's up unchanged at $32.26. Platinum is up $12 at $960. Palladium up $4 at $945. So the metals are doing very well, acting very strong. And almost any dips that you see, you got to take advantage of and buy them because they don't last very long.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, what are people picking up now? I mean, are people just trying to get anything they can get, or is there something that's really popular right now when it comes to gold?
Well, gold is very strong, and they're buying. Seems to be a lot of the larger customers now are buying bigger bars,
really,
10-ounce and kilo bars, and the coins are still available at great values and low premiums. The market has swung towards a little bit favoring silver, and we have seen a lot more silver buying going on now with a 100-to-1 ratio on gold to silver. So that may be something to take a look at and take advantage of these low prices on silver.
Well, listen, give William Youngerman a call. He opens up at 10 a.m. at 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. Stop in. Located in Boca at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway, again in Boca, and find both William Youngerman's address and phone number on his website, williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day. Thanks.
All right, take care. Now, one of my favorite moments yesterday outside the press conference is, President Trump took a swipe at Caitlin Collins, said CNN hates America, and Dana Bash on CNN, who was visibly upset at this, she went on CNN Live to respond to President Trump, and it was just very strange.
We have heard a lot of bits of information, a lot of news nuggets that we want to definitely focus on, a lot of some misinformation as well. But we want to digest all of this right now with our terrific panel here and our reporters. Jeff Zeleny, I want to start with you. You are at the White House. Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years. And I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing. That said, I want to focus on the news that we...
Oh, the news, yeah, okay. So she didn't say that CNN doesn't hate America or the United States. She said our country. So I'm a little unclear on what country she's talking about. Is she talking about China? Is she talking about Canada? Is she talking about the United States? I'm not sure exactly what country Dana Bash says that she doesn't hate at CNN. But I'll say a couple things about CNN. After 9/11, and this is burned into my brain. I'll never forget this. After 9/11, and the media are located in New York City and D.C. and New York City, and those were the two cities that were hit by Al Qaeda that day. A lot of reporters around America, both local and national, started wearing American flags on their lapels while they were broadcasting the news. CNN sent a memorandum out to their entire air staff that went public after 9/11. And this is when they were still looking for people alive in the rubble, okay? It was fresh. CNN sent out a memorandum that said this: CNN is an international news organization, not an American news organization, and reporters are not to wear American flags on their clothing on the air, and they're not to show bias towards the United States in their reporting. Remember that? That was after 9/11, a loss of life greater than that of Pearl Harbor. And it was even worse than that because at least Pearl Harbor was a military target. Bad, but it was a military target. 9/11 was terrorism on civilian targets. That's CNN. Don't forget that. And you guys, if you want to research that, go do it. You'll find out that I'm right. The other thing about CNN, what they really hate are the American people. They hate the American people. They think the American people are stupid. You didn't go to the Columbia School of Journalism. You didn't go to Harvard. You didn't go to Yale. You didn't go to Princeton. You didn't go to Oxford or the London School of Economics. So what do you know? Or Columbia. But I'll never forget CNN and that memorandum after 9/11. Pretty disgusting. That is CNN. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's JJ from Mass.
Hey, JJ.
You know, I think we've established that the El Salvador prison is not the carrot in the equation, but it is the stick. And I'm sufficiently happy with any illegal alien that is here in our country, whether they're MS-13 or whoever the hell they are. They came here illegally, in a lot of cases with illegal help from our own government, but illegally, unconstitutionally. And if they end up, and this to me, I think it's, I'll say this: the Miller yesterday was, it was sort of like watching the Super Bowl, the World Series. Listen to that guy talk.
Yeah.
Was grab a snifter and get a cigar. It was beautiful.
It was.
And he did mention about the lawyer that screwed up the paperwork. He said many times that he had been relieved. I can't remember the exact words, but I think he said he had been relieved of duty. Mm-hmm. And then finally I heard him say that he was a Democrat, and basically insinuated or stated for the record that he had messed up the paperwork on purpose. So this was a propaganda ploy by the Democrats.
Yeah.
By an FBI or Department of Justice, anti-normal, anti-Trump, asset that just, they're all over the place in the federal government. It's going to take us a while to weed these people out.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. Yeah, I know. And these liberal callers today, it's very bizarre. I mean, it's like bizarro world I'm getting calls from.
Well, listen, you get the, why send these people to El Salvador? Well, it's like 41,000, 42, 3, 4, whatever it is now. It's in the mid 40s for a federal prisoner. We send them down to El Salvador. We pay them $20,000.
Yeah.
And sending them $6 million down there to be like, okay, here's a down. We're going to be sending you a lot of people.
We may
do they have to house those people?
We may pay to build more prisons.
20 years?
We may build more prisons
30.
at our expense. It'll save money and lives. I got to run, but I appreciate the call. Now, Mike Lindell at MyPillow with our promo code Kane has two big specials going on that I want to tell you guys about. They're amazing. The first one is on the MyPillow Percale sheets. I have these on my guest bed. They're amazing. Any size and any color with the Percale sheets, just $25 with our promo code Kane. That includes the singles, the twins, the queens, the kings, split kings, even California kings. Any size, any color. There's 11 colors to choose from. Just $25 with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. It's a pretty good deal, huh? Absolutely. The second is this. Mike Lindell has a new energy drink. It's called Rev 7. It's a premium energy drink. It tastes great. There's no sugar and no caffeine, so you don't get all those crashes and jitters that you get with all those energy drinks. And they have an incredible offer. With our promo code Kane at checkout, for a limited time, you can get an introductory 3-pack trial set absolutely free of the new Mike Lindell energy drink. Just go to mypillow.com and use our promo code Kane at checkout. You heard me, free. You get that 3-pack free. You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. And free shipping on all orders over $75. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian, how are you today?
Right.
Brian, it'll be good riddance to CNN, MSNBC, The View, the whole bunch of them. The Dana one you just played, isn't her husband the one that's connected with the CIA?
Her ex-husband that she gets the bash from was a senior CIA guy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes. It's a pleasure to watch CNN. I'm sorry. Oh, my God. It's a pleasure to watch Donald Trump stick it to them, especially in the Oval Office there, and they deserve it.
On their own air.
They deserve it. It's going on for a long time. They've been blatant about it, and they really don't give a damn about this country and the people.
That's right. All
and
right.
They sure don't give a damn about the President of the United States.
We're out of time, but I appreciate the call. I got to run. We're out of time for today. We will be back tomorrow. My name is Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 48 years on the radio. Thanks everyone who called and participated today. Some great calls, even from the liberal loonies, because you put in perspective the liberal position, which is just, it's nuts is what it is. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6 a.m. All right, we are out. Now, I'm going to continue on just a little bit longer here. So if you'd like to call in, you are welcome to call in, even if you've already called before. This is our after show, which the after show is brought to you by Mike Lindell and My Pillow. Okay, so just remember that. And this is the energy drink. You get this free 3-pack for free with our promo code Kane, the trial pack of the new energy drink. And there's the closeout deal on the Percal sheets. So go to mypillow.com, get that free. Why not get it free with our promo code Kane and that incredible deal on the sheets, all sizes, and let Mike Lindell know that you support, of course, my content. It's greatly appreciated. If you're new to the program, my name's Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. This is one I didn't get to on the program, and you know I always like Steve Bannon, but Steve Bannon's causing trouble again. Listen to this. Steve Bannon has come out against Lutnick, and you know he's been going after Elon. He's been going after Lutnick, and he's always undermining the Trump administration, all right? And, you know, it looks like what it is, okay? It is just jealousy and bitterness because he's not on the inside. And he's jealous of these guys that are. These guys, Elon, and they're involved in these big decisions, these big negotiations. They're making history. They're making peace with Russia. They're ending all this government waste. And he just feels like he's not a part of it. And as much as I love Steve Bannon, this MAGA Civil War crap has, it's got to stop. It's just got to stop. And, you know, let him go around and try to go viral by...
See this black box right here? Well, I'm going to show you something right now. Some people are concerned that they're going to have to...
We've been very clear. Talking about Trump running for a third term or something, okay? But enough of this attacking Elon and other people in the... I mean, do you guys agree with me that Bannon looks jealous? I think he looks incredibly petty and incredibly jealous. Now, this one here, this was another thing I didn't get to play on the show today. This is one of the United Auto Worker bosses talking about the Trump tariffs.
We've been very...
And this is MSNBC, by the way.
...clear. We do believe, and we know, when it comes to auto, when it comes to heavy truck and agricultural implement, we know that tariffs will influence these companies to do the right thing and reinvest in this country and reinvest in factories in this country. You know, it's interesting, Stellantis, as Trump was announcing the tariff, announced at the same moment that they were going to lay off 800 people. That didn't change as Trump was making an announcement. To me, it's just trying to bait people. At the end of the day, we believe that Stellantis and these companies will bring work back.
Oh, by the way, this girl here in the bottom left, she's the host of the show. That's Goldbar Menendez's daughter, all right, the guy that takes bribes.
Because of these.
And she's sitting there leading a panel questioning Trump. But the very fact that one of the head of the United Auto Workers is praising Trump on tariffs. And you can see, look at them. I mean, they don't want to hear it. Fake Republican Michael Steele. Of course, she worked for Kamala. They just don't, and her dad takes bribes. They're just disgusted that the United Auto Workers is sharing this truth.
These tariffs. I mean, look what they've done without them. Let's talk about the realities of what, and this is the thing, I've been reading a lot of this lately. Going back, in 1992, I voted for Ross Perot. Mm-hmm. You know why I voted for Ross Perot? For one reason, because he was the only candidate that talked about how devastating NAFTA would be to American jobs and to our manufacturing base.
Right.
And he talked about that giant sucking sound. You know, I've read this book here in the last week, you know, Save your job, save our country. Why NAFTA must be stopped now. You know what's interesting? Since then, Ross Perot's become a prophet. Since NAFTA was inception in 1993, we've lost 90,000 manufacturing facilities in this country, millions of jobs. And these weren't, you know, low-end jobs. These were jobs that paid decent wages, had good benefits. We've been very clear.
Yeah, and look at them. That panel, they just don't want to hear it, do they? No, they don't, because they are
how to
sick
kill all mosquitoes in the area in 90 seconds.
And well, we'll worry about mosquitoes later. And it's because they're obsessed with Trump, right? And look at this. I mean, look at these stories. NVIDIA. I mean, they're moving a big operation. NVIDIA announces AI supercomputers will be built entirely in the United States. And this is the first time it's happening. And why is it happening? Because of Trump and the tariffs. And this is what Trump's ultimate goal is to, well, fund the country as much as possible off tariffs so he can get rid of income taxes on people that make under $150,000 a year, but also bring manufacturing back to the country, which is job creation. And these are good paying jobs. I mean, how can any reasonable person be opposed to any of these policies? Right? You can't. And that's why I lose my patience talking with some of these people about some of these things, because the anti-Trump positions are just stupid. They're just stupid. And he's bringing back these jobs at the snap of his fingers. Now, here's another one that this one really burns me. Because this is, you know, this guy here, Ben Shapiro. You know, here's Ben Shapiro doing an entire argument against the tariffs. And, you know, what's going on with Ben Shapiro, first of all, he's a never-Trumper and I'm not going to plague. I can't stand listening to his voice. It's on my X if you guys want to listen to it. Never trust a never-Trumper, all right? Unless Trump gives them the okay. If Trump forgives them, that's okay. But Ben Shapiro, it's not just that he's a never-Trumper. The Daily Wire is failing, okay, for a number of reasons. I'm not going to, you know, the Brett Cooper and the Candace Owens, they got rid of Jeremy Boring, who ran the outfit. They've lost some other senior management. They're in big trouble, the Daily Wire. And what Ben Shapiro is doing is he's looking for rescue from the never-Trumpers. You know, the Lincoln Project type Republicans. He's looking for these never-Trumper Republicans to come in and bail out the Daily Wire through whatever means. So what you're going to start to see, because MAGA people don't like Ben Shapiro, okay? I mean, I agree with his position on Israel, but, you know, he's never been trusted because he was a never-Trumper. So what you're going to start to see from Ben Shapiro, you'll see more and more of this as time goes on. You're going to continue to see him take these bizarre anti-Trump, anti-MAGA positions, and every time he's doing it, it's a shout-out for a bailout for the Daily Wire. And, you know, I don't like Candace Owens or what she did, but they took some big financial hits with Candace Owens and the loss of Brett Cooper. And the Daily Wire, they've had to lose tons of their monthly subscriptions, which was a big part of their income. So that's what's happening. They got too big, they got too fast, and too arrogant. And what you're going to find, the more that they have money problems, they have less money for marketing, you're going to start to see the relevance of Ben Shapiro and others wane, because Ben Shapiro's popularity has been because the Daily Wire has spent millions of dollars promoting his program to force it in everyone's feed in social media and online. His popularity has never been real. It's been Memorex. It's been fake. And you're going to see him go down that never-Trumper tunnel more and more as the weeks and months go by. And that's just the way it is. And he's going to make himself even more irrelevant. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe if you're new. All right? I'll see you next time. Take care. Oh, well, before I sign off, I'll take this call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's up? I was just about to sign off, but I grabbed your call.
This is Alex from Arizona.
Hey, Arizona. What's up?
Yeah, Brian, I heard you say twice at least that the Supreme Court ruled in Trump's favor. Now, from what I understand, the ruling said that he was wrong in deporting the Maryland man,
the illegal from El Salvador.
Well, he had applied for asylum.
He's a member of a terrorist organization, MS-13.
Right, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Did you actually say that having a Bulls hat, a Chicago Bulls hat, and a sweatshirt, I suppose,
No, that's not what I said.
What makes you
that's not what I said. The immigration officers that arrested him, that's what they said.
Right, and is that? Do you think that's valid?
They know more about that. That's their area of expertise. But they also had an informant who said he was MS-13, and 2 judges said that he was MS-13. And MS-13 has been designated a terrorist organization by President Trump. So if you're a member of a terrorist organization and you happen to have a visa, your visa is no longer valid. He's a citizen of El Salvador, and that's where he's at. And the president of El Salvador said he's not going to send him back to the United States.
Okay, well, let's go back to the beginning. The Supreme Court said that he was wrong in deporting him without due process. Now that he's over there, they can't force the executive to
that's not what they said. That's not what they
anymore.
said. That's what the media. No, that's what the media says. Stephen Miller and President Trump said yesterday that the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that judges do not have authority on international policy, that is under the realm of the president. So they cited 9-0 in favor of Trump's position. That's according to President Trump and Stephen Miller in that press conference yesterday.
Well, it was against the decision to...
What kind of accent? What kind of accent do you have?
It was... What does that matter?
Because you're defending a guy. What kind of accent? I have an American accent. What kind of accent is yours?
I don't feel comfortable disclosing that.
Why?
But
it has a lot to do with your position.
Is the ruling?
Is it El Salvador? Are you from El Salvador?
In removing him.
Are you from El Salvador?
But now that I'm not from El Salvador.
Venezuela?
No, I'm not from
Cuba?
any of the languages.
This is not an American accent.
I'm Puerto Rican.
You're Puerto Rican. Okay, well, that's American.
I'm Puerto Rican.
See, you got a connection to this guy because you're Hispanic, right? Why are you defending a guy? He's from a terrorist organization. Why are you defending him?
See, the grounds that you're saying that... Well, first of all, let's get past this Supreme Court ruling. They said that Trump was wrong in removing the man, but now that he's over there, they can't tell him how to deal with international relations. So that's the spin that you're trying to give to the.
So what are you suggesting be done now?
Ruling.
You want to kidnap him? You want to kidnap him from El Salvador? What do you want to do?
No. Just I know the El Salvador president, the dictator, better said.
Where in Puerto Rico are you from?
What do you want him?
Where in
to
Puerto
do,
Rico are you
back?
from?
No, just a plane. A regular plane.
Where in Puerto Rico are you from? Where in Puerto Rico are you from?
What does that matter? I don't understand.
Come on.
Let's move on. From
where are you really
from?
from?
So you think that wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and the sweatshirt, and that's not to mention that the informant didn't provide any evidence beyond what he was.
There was the arresting ICE officers did an investigation, and they went before a judge, and 2 judges said he was MS-13 based on the evidence presented to the courts.
And what was that evidence, Brian?
The informant, okay, was the main evidence.
Okay, and the informant couldn't provide any evidence beyond what the man was
I don't know. I wasn't there in the court, but I know 2 judges said he was MS-13, And I don't know why you won't tell us where you're really from. I don't understand. Why are you embarrassed?
I'm not embarrassed. I don't understand what it has to do with objective.
Because all of us
reality.
have.
You're
Because
trying to turn this into a personal.
No, because
thing
well, it is personal.
We're just talking about the facts.
All of our opinions are based on where we come from. Our worldview is shaped by where we grew up, where we were raised. And you're. I don't think you're Puerto Rican.
Okay. I mean that I don't think should be the main. Well, let's just talk about the fact. Let's just talk about objective reality here. Now, what evidence beyond what was worn is there for the claim that the man was a terrorist?
Well, President Trump signed an executive order designating MS-13 as a terrorist organization because they illegally invaded our country and they've been committing all kinds of crimes, very violent and even deadly crimes. So if you're a member of a terrorist organization, you're out.
I understand that, but I'm talking about this specific situation with Armando or something like that is his name. And now that the president is passing by the idea of sending actual American citizens to El Salvador, that doesn't bother you?
Has he sent an American citizen there yet?
Not yet, no. But,
well, let's wait until he does.
He's passing the
Let's
idea,
wait until he does. For all I know, he's just trolling the media. He hasn't done it yet. So when he does it, then we'll talk about it.
I mean, it just seems that it can turn into a.
But why are you advocating for MS-13?
I'm not advocating for MS-13.
Sure.
That's a miscarriage.
The president of El Salvador. The president of El Salvador said that the guy's a terrorist with MS-13. So, and he's certainly El Salvadorian. So, whose word are we to take? The president of El Salvador, the president of the United States, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi, or Rachel Maddow?
Brian, the Supreme Court said that no evidence was presented beyond the whole Chicago Bulls hat and sweatshirt thing.
No, they had an informant and two. They had an informant. They had an informant and two judges. And two evidence beyond. I didn't go through the court cases. Two judges said he was MS-13. They declared him MS-13.
Based on what evidence?
I told you like 4 times. How many times am I going to repeat it?
The informant?
Correct.
The informant who just went off of looks. Not even looks. He went off of attire.
No, he didn't go off attire. No, the informant was MS-13. The informant was MS-13 and identified him as MS-13. The clothing, that came from the agents that arrested him.
Okay, and the informant,
but you understand that you're fighting a losing battle. It's already settled. He's back in his homeland, El Salvador, and the president said he's not letting him out of jail or sending him back.
No, I'm fighting the battle of misinformation. That you're characterizing the ruling as something that benefits.
I'm not characterizing the ruling. President Trump said that,
and that's what I have a problem.
President Trump said that.
And look, Brian, if there was like blood or like any type of evidence that even like minimal evidence, like I don't know, some kind of DNA evidence that ties the man to some kind of violent crime, I'm on board with deporting him. But there is no valid evidence beyond like what I've mentioned.
Well,
and then
he has been determined. Excuse me. Hold on. First off, on top of the MS-13, he was ordered deported. He married this American girl and got her pregnant to have an anchor wife and an anchor baby while he was awaiting deportation. Everything, he was ordered removed by a judge.
That was after, from what I understand, I've read into the case a bit. That was after he had applied for asylum.
He was applying for. So what did he apply for asylum? He's in the country illegally. Illegals are criminals, and they should be all of them should be deported.
Well, being in the country illegally, from what I understand,
is illegal.
It's like a speeding ticket, from what I understand. It's a civil offense.
No. It is criminal. To enter the country illegally is a criminal offense.
are you a criminal for speeding on your way to work? Or are people?
It's not like
automatically
speeding.
when-
Illegally entering the United States is a felony.
It's a civil offense.
No, it's not. It's not civil. It's criminal.
Offense. And now
It's
speeding is
criminal.
based on the state.
It's
So
criminal.
that-
It's not a
that's
state
not a
crime. No, it's a
federal-
federal crime. Entering the United States illegally is a federal crime and a criminal offense. It's not civil.
It's on the same. It's only not comparable to a speeding ticket because speeding depends on the state. But it is a civil offense. And now after multiple offenses, it does get
Entering the country
more serious
illegally
and
is
it turns into a
criminal.
felony.
Entering the
Like a
country
speeding
illegally is criminal.
Okay. That's not really what I'm here to argue about. Really, it's just the characterization that you're giving to the Supreme Court ruling.
No,
and
listen.
the
I do.
basis
I
by which
appreciate
you're
your
calling
call.
this man,
No. I
terrorist.
appreciate your call, but the reality is, the reason I was asking about your accent, which you've not been forthcoming about, is your nationality has everything to do with this call. You relate to the illegals for some reason. Maybe you're illegal. Maybe a family that are illegal. I don't know. Maybe it's just a Hispanic bond. But there's
I don't know why
something.
you don't believe
There's
what I've
something.
said.
There's something about the illegals that you relate to.
No, I'm telling you right now, if there was any evidence of him being a violent criminal or being attached
Well, he's
to
a member.
a terrorist
There
or
is
a gang member,
two judges.
Two
Two judges determined he was MS-13. MS-13 is a terrorist organization.
But I'm telling you to please provide some evidence beyond just the attire that he was wearing.
It was they had an informant.
Okay, right. But that's what I'm saying. Even the informant doesn't provide evidence beyond just hearsay and beyond like I said, the
I don't
attire.
know. I
Now,
just know that the
still
courts
need to-
ruled he was MS-13. And as soon as Trump designated MS-13 a terrorist organization, that means his visa was no longer valid. But listen, I'm going to run, but I appreciate the call. All right? I
Okay.
do. I really do. I do. I don't think he's being forthcoming. All right, now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. And if you're already subscribed, do me the favor of liking the video. And remember, the after show is brought to you by Mike Lindell and My Pillow. And there's this incredible offer going on right now. You can get, with my promo code Kane at checkout, a free 3-pack of Mike Lindell's new energy drink, okay? And it's a pretty good deal with my promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And, of course, take advantage of these other specials as well. And let Mike Lindell know that you support me by supporting him, because Mike Lindell is supporting my after show. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for watching.